I just realized actually I didn't put the banner up.
I was going to say, I don't
So
think you meant to do the round of applause.
I did mean to do that. I figured, you know, I, let's give it a try.
Yeah.
I I didn't put the banner up, but at least I have the sound effect going here. So we are here, everyone. Good to see you all already in the chat. The Frisch Perspective and the Layman Apologist, bringing you another episode talking about whatever's on our mind right now.
Food.
Food is on my mind because I was sent very graciously a variety of items from Tony over in England, and he already. I told him he gets first pick as to what I should try.
He's
And
already told you.
yeah, and I'm seeing that now. So I'm just gonna set the expectation. I don't have all this stuff with me right now. I have all the food actually in a bag here. I have one of the drinks though, because I really don't want to open all the cans. And I can't. I can only do so much today. So what I'm gonna do is I'll try a few of these things. So maybe we'll have Tony. He's got a first pick there, and then if Layman wants to, if he has any of these, he really wants me to try.
Well, you've already picked out my favorite drink, so unfortunately,
Okay,
Tony doesn't get that choice. Unless you have the drinks with you, I don't know.
I don't have the drinks.
Well, then I get my drink, so.
Yeah, sorry about that, Tony. I only have one drink, and it happened to be it's because this one seemed the most unusual to me. It's like something I've never had anything like it. Now you said, Layman, that the one that's in the tall can, the
Iron Brew.
Iron Brew, that's one I need to try.
Well, it's the one that nearly every American asks Irish and Scottish people apart, and I'm sure English as well, but like, this is Scotland's finest drink, and everybody always asks, oh, what does it taste like? To which the result is normally, it tastes like Iron Brew, because you can't really compare it to anything else.
Okay. Okay. Now this the drink that I am gonna try here, it's the D&B, Dandelion and Burdock. I
Mhm.
think you told me about this before for some reason.
I did, just that one is not the particular brand that I drink my Dandelion and Burdock, but I'm sure it'll taste much the same.
Okay. And it's got 69p on it. So is that like basically 69 cents?
No. um, Tony can correct me here, but I'm sure he got these out of Rolo. Don't eat that. Stop that. Sorry, my dog's playing up. Our cans over here are all normally like £1 or more. They're very expensive. So the fact that these have 69p on them, they normally go to the stores over here that we call like bargain stores. So like places like Home Bargains, B&M and stuff. Really good places to go and get multiple drinks because you get them for much cheaper. Sorry, I'm going to have to mute 1 second to take this from the dog.
Okay. Well, I just saw that Tony, you put that you're drinking the Dandelion and Burdock right now, which is great because we're obviously on the same wavelength here. That's the one I picked out for today. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said he wants me to try Frazzles, which I have here, and they are crispy bacon flavor.
Mm-hmm.
So
Now, the ones, not with you, but in the picture, the ones on top of them, the scampi fries, these and pork scratchings are normally what's found in our pubs. There you go, Tony.
fries,
Scampi.
yeah. They
Tony
say
said,
fries though.
yeah, but they're not really fries. Um, Tony did say, yeah, they're from Home Bargains, so there you go. That's correct.
You guys know, you know.
Well, it's where I get my drinks from too, because like honestly, when I there's no point going back to when I was growing up, but like when I was growing up, a can of Coke or whatever else wouldn't have even cost you 50p. The fact that most cans now are all over £1 is ridiculous. So the fact that you can get ones there for like 69p, and again, Tony can correct me if I'm wrong, but Home Bargains normally do a deal like you can get three for £1 or whatever, so they probably weren't even 69p either.
Yeah.
Really
Well,
good bargains.
I don't know how 69p translates to US currency, but
Oh, I can check for you, but it's
So we also have yep, light and melty prawn cocktail. I love the some of these.
about 93 cents for you.
Okay, that's kind of what I was thinking, like under $1. You got the Monster Munch brand.
Pickled onion.
I like that. There's a couple of these.
Your mic's done that weird change thing again.
I think it's gonna be doing that off and on today, and hopefully it's not gonna be too bad. Yeah, pickled onion and roast beef.
Hmm.
And then we got the candy. I'm gonna save a lot of the candy probably for my dessert channel that I have with my daughter. But some of these look really good too.
Hmm.
Like this toffee crisp.
They're very good.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. And I have no idea what a Wispa is.
Uh, oh, I don't even know what your equivalent would be, but it's a very smooth chocolate bar, and I don't mean smooth as in texture, although that's true as well, but smooth as in like it's got a very nice, smooth taste to it.
Cool.
And I was right. Tony got 4 of them for £1. So there you go. He got all 4 cans for £1. So it shows you a really good bargain, as where if you go to any other store, one of those cans would cost you well over £1.
Wow. Yeah. We have stuff like that, kind of like dollar stores. Is what we call
Well,
them.
that's what Tiffany's asking there. She's saying, is it like American Costco or Sam's Club? Much smaller scale, Tiffany. And although they do like drinks and sweets and some frozen food, they're not really a grocery store. They're more like home bargains. Really is the name for it, because like it's a lot of decor and things like that in there.
Yeah, I was thinking like our dollar stores are just little stores that have discounted items, that you can get
It's kind of
things
like
for
that,
$1. Yeah.
kind of like that, but their main selling things is like household items, so like cleaning supplies, rugs, all those types of things.
Yep. Yeah, I mean we that sounds a lot like a Family Dollar or Dollar General. Okay. Doesn't actually smell strong, this one. Now this is the crispy bacon frazzles.
Now, let me give you one piece of advice. I know you've already opened those. I didn't know you were opening it just yet.
Yeah.
Close the top of it as tight as you can and give it a good check, because all the bacon dust is at the bottom of the bag.
Oh. Yeah, Big Lots, someone said.
Yep.
I see that. That's another
Hmm.
kind of a discount store.
Yeah, so Sealy said Home Bargains would be equivalent to TJ Maxx. Although we also have that as well, Sealy, but it's not called TJ Maxx, it's called TK Maxx. Owned by the same people, though.
So is having the drink with these going to go together okay?
Yeah. These are a lot of what Tony sent you is outside of the Monster Munch and the prawn cocktail, but like the scampi and the frazzles, those are really like more what you would find in our family pubs. So you get them with soft drinks, you can get them with beers, all that sort of stuff. So, however,
Well,
I would suggest having the drink first just to get the
okay.
unique taste.
Good idea. Good idea. Yeah, I kind of feel like the these types of snacks, they're like corn based. We have similar things just with different flavoring.
Hmm.
So it'll be neat to try your flavoring. But see, but the drink that I'm trying, this is nothing like what I've ever had. So
Well, Philip, before you have a drink, Philip's calling you fat, so you know.
that's a lot of snacks. Well, I said I wasn't going to be able to try them all today.
He didn't know that until now, though. So.
All right, here
And
we
then
go.
before you do, the
Uh-oh.
other thing too, and I know you're going to try this on a different day, but do you see on your picture beside the Freddo, it's a pink thing. It's called Turkish Delight.
Oh yeah.
This is one of my favorite. Now, this is not traditional Turkish delight, which I do love as well, but
Ah.
this is one of my favorite combinations: Turkish delight and chocolate.
Okay.
But save that for another day, sure.
Yeah. Okay, because I've had Turkish delight, but this is different.
Yeah, it's not traditional Turkish delight.
It's packaged. Yeah, these candy bars, they do look really good. Looking forward to trying those too. I may open one of them on this, but I
Yeah,
do
dude,
want to
because
save
I
some
want to
for my
hear what
daughter.
your I want to hear what your thoughts is on our chocolate versus yours.
All right. So he said that this might remind me of root beer. Maybe.
Similar,
Is it? How's it going to compare to Moxie? That's what I want to know.
actually,
A little bit of a,
relatively,
yeah.
yeah.
But see, Moxie has sugar. This
Well,
has like a
sweetener.
artificial sweetener. All right, here we go. For the first time, dandelion and burdock. This is some sort of like herbal type of a flavoring, is what you said.
No, no, not what I said. What some people say. I
What
don't
some
find
people
that.
say.
Yeah, I don't find it.
I spilled it.
The pressure got to him, folks. Well,
That's gonna go in my mouth.
while you're composing yourself, Sam says Turkish delight you, followed by yum. I'm assuming that is Turkish delight yum. Tiffany says, does D&B have actual dandelion? And the brand that I drink, Tiffany, it does. I'm not too sure about this one. It may be something that's made to replicate the taste of it, but I don't know if it has it directly in it. And yes, you're correct. UK chocolate is far superior. And Leslie says, go on with it, Tim. Hurry up.
Yeah, I did. I did. So yeah, I mean, I gotta say, Moxie might have. No, it's not the same flavor as Moxie.
No.
I'm not saying that at all. But in that unusual soda flavor,
Mhm.
it's that category. It's just a unusual. It's different than. It's not as sweet as a lot of sodas, and has more of a complex flavor to it. I would think people who like Moxie, who like those kinds of unusual flavors, would be more prone to liking this too. But if you don't like those kinds of things, then you probably wouldn't. If
That's
you
what I
if
say. A lot of people over here give me, because this is a drink I normally tell people to try, and even over here, a lot of people give me the criticism of, oh, it tastes florally. I don't find that it does, but I quite like the taste of it. So
Yeah, I could see how people could get that from it. Similar to how it.
especially my brand, it
Hmm.
is made with real dandelion. Pardon me.
Oh,
Now I don't know. That one might. I'm just saying I know for a fact mine does.
let's see what they say. Um, it says flavoring. I'm
Well,
pretty
yeah.
sure that the thing that whatever's in there making it taste like that is just some sort of a flavoring.
Yeah, it's
It
probably
doesn't say
stuff they've
what,
got
but
to replicate it, but there's a brand I have. The weird thing is I can't remember the name of it right now, but it's like an organic drinks company have over here. They're a local farm, and when they make dandelion and burdock, like they have the real stuff in it, so it's very very
yeah.
tasty, very very tasty.
Yeah, and the other thing that reminds me of Moxie with this is and again, they're not the same, but the more you drink it, it's actually the opposite of some drinks where like they taste good the first time and then they actually get
Get worse.
harder to whereas these drinks kind of they're a little unusual at first, but then as you drink it,
Yep.
your taste buds kind of just adapt and it's not bad. All right, now I got to try. Let's hope I can, not miss my mouth with this for the
Well,
first.
yeah. So while you're doing that and collecting yourself, Sam says yes, yum. I hit send too soon. Don't worry, Sam. Only teasing. Tony says the Freddo and the Dib Dab are meant for your daughter. So there you go.
Yeah, that'll be great. Thank
Now,
you.
where do you hear the crazy inflation though? But so I am 35 now. I remember when I was like around maybe 5 or 6, Freddos used to cost 5p. That little bar you have, it hasn't changed in size by the way, used to cost 5p. Then it went to 10p. 15p, and then it jumped from 15p to 25p, and now in some places they are charging 50p for that bar of chocolate, and it is a teeny tiny bar. Ah, there you go. Tony clarified the drink you had has dandelion extract and burdock extract as well.
There you go.
So some it'll give you a similar taste.
Yeah.
And
Those go
Tiffany,
well together.
that'd be very good for you.
Very good. That's a nice snack.
See, this is traditionally what people like. So pubs have changed a lot over the years, but we're starting to see a comeback of them in Ireland and the UK to be more family oriented places. This is normally you would go down Sunday, have your Sunday roast down at a pub, and after you'd been there a couple of hours, the kids would be there. They would get their can of fizzy drink or whatever you want to call it, your pop, your soda, whatever. They would get a little bag of those frazzles, maybe even the scampi fries. I used to love those as a kid, although they're seen weirdly more as an adult snack. And these are exactly the type of snacks that you would get at your local pub.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
Tony's
And so
Tony's
yeah,
got
that specifically the frazzles taste really good. You know, bacon. That's going to be a winner with a crunchy snack like this. Like I said, we have things that this kind of equivalent to, like Funyuns, which are onion flavored,
we have
corn
those as
based.
well.
Yeah. But these being bacon flavored, really good.
I
I
will
like
tell
it a
you
lot.
one thing. You will be glad that I told you to shake the dust around though, but because some people eat these and don't realize that all the bacon dust has dropped
Yeah.
to the bottom, and then they're
Yeah.
like, it tastes slightly of bacon. And I'm like, yeah, you didn't get it coated, that's why.
Yeah. That's interesting. Well, see, that might be a difference between U.S. snacks because we douse our snacks in so much flavoring.
Well, those are. It's not like the flavorings put in first and then the crisps on top of it. It's just unfortunately all the flavoring tends to fall to the bottom. So like
like
uh,
our Cheetos, for example, you could not
Cheeto
get
dust.
that stuff off
Yeah.
if you tried.
Yep.
Um,
He also got four Freddos for a quid as well. Yeah, that's it's not great considering the inflation I just talked about, but like four Freddos for a pound, I would happily pay that rather than 50p for one.
all right. So, oh, I was gonna say too, because he said that the Dib Dab and the little
Freddos for your
chocolate
daughter.
Freddo are for my daughter, and yeah, I like what this says on it. Sherbet dip with a tasty strawberry flavor lolly. So it's like we have Fun Dip here. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. Fun Dip.
We have them.
Yeah. Okay, you do have them.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that's like the closest thing I can think of to this in
Mm-hmm.
terms of the concept. But I like how it says lolly. We
Yeah,
never call them lollies.
yeah. We also call what you guys would call a popsicle. We also call lollies, so we would call those ice lollies.
Oh, okay. Iced. I just saw Kofi
Yeah.
in here, and he said his childhood was basically powered by Vimto. That makes sense. Yeah, kind of a Kool-Aid punch. Yeah.
Yeah. Vimto's, I don't mind it. It wouldn't be my go-to. But the Tizer that Tony has sent you, I'm not really going to be sending you food or drink, but I will send you one drink,
Okay.
which I think you will enjoy. And it's you've seen me drink them on the stream before. They're called Tangos, and they're quite similar to Tizer, but they've got, I would say, more unique flavors to them.
Yeah. All right.
Leslie's also saying she loved the Fun Dips as a kid.
Yeah.
Yep. Now, before we go into anything further, unless
Yeah.
Tony has a choice,
Yeah.
I would recommend you try the Turkish Delight.
You really want me to do the Turkish delight?
Well, you've tried a drink, you've tried one of
Yeah.
the crisps
Yeah.
slash fries. I would say suggest take one of the chocolates. So don't open it right away in case Tony has a choice. But let Tony choose. But if he doesn't, I would
I
say
think
try
he
the
gave a
turkey.
thumbs up, unless he's giving a thumbs up to something else.
It might be the tango comment. So I'll give him a second just to see. He's like, I send all this stuff and they're not listening.
Oh, my daughter's coming up. You want to try this Turkish delight with me
When?
right now?
Minecraft.
You busy doing something else?
Yeah, I'm just
Okay.
getting like a Minecraft.
Okay, no problem.
Rejection.
I'm not sure she would have loved being on the live stream anyway.
You
All
can
right.
you can if she's up for it, go back and do the wee videos you guys used to do.
Hmm.
You should revive those.
That's what I'm talking about with these other candy
Yeah,
bars.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, I haven't seen
Let's-
anything from Tony, so he's clearly not objecting.
Yeah,
There we go. Thumbs up.
another thumbs up. He's definitely giving the thumbs up on Turkish delight.
Mhm.
All right. Okay, so
Now, reminder just to set your expectations. This is not meant to be traditional Turkish delight.
that's okay. I'm not like I mean, I've had Turkish delight, but it's not like I'm picky about it.
Oh, I love Turkish delight though. So, if someone told me that was Turkish delight and I had in my mind traditional Turkish delight and I tasted that, I would be distraught. Even though I really like that bar.
So why do they call it Turkish delight?
This brand here? I don't
Yeah.
know. I think it's just their spin on it, but like they just wrapped it in chocolate. I like it.
Chocolate. Interesting.
Colton says, "Don't do it, Edmund. Do it." Eat
I
it.
know. That's what I was thinking of this whole time.
That's
got
where my
someone-
love of Turkish delight developed from. Was Narnia. I'm not actually exaggerating. It really was. When
I can believe
saw-
that.
Yeah, when I saw, well, first I read it before I ever saw it, but when I actually saw the BBC version of their version of the movies, and I saw the Turkish delight, I was like, I want that.
Okay, so it is kind of crumbling apart. Oh, interesting. The inside is not.
Told you.
It's actually very firm. Like
Yeah.
you know what I mean. It's
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
okay. This could be a little messy, so I'm going to mute this for a second and take a bite or two here.
In case he misses his mouth.
Yeah, in case I miss my mouth.
Tiffany is saying, I've always been told Turkish delight tastes like bathwater. Who on earth has told you that? You might want to go full screen, Tim, to show the cross section. Yeah, Tiffany, I don't know who, if you've never tried Turkish delight, try it. It is definitely not floral in its taste, nor does it taste like bathwater.
Okay, I will tell you what I think, but let me show the cross section full screen for a second here. There we go.
Yep.
So kind of a almost like a gelatin
Mhm.
type of an inside
Yeah.
there.
Or other Tony here said gelatinous, yeah.
Gelatinous. There you go. Yeah. Well, that's Turkish delight does kind of have a gelatinous aspect to it, and it's
It
covered in
does, but
chocolate.
yeah, that one is definitely a lot more solid's not the right word, but you get what I
Firm.
mean. Yeah, firm, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. It's very good. I like it a lot. Man,
Now,
all this stuff is very good so far.
what's better, our chocolate or yours?
Well, yeah, this for like a coated chocolate is really good. That's, surprisingly good for a coated chocolate. Now, as far as like chocolate, I mean, obviously, if you're comparing to Hershey's, that's a matter of taste and I understand Hershey's is not universally considered the best chocolate. I'm used to it because I grew up with it, so you know how that is. But that being said, like you probably have your mediocre chocolate and your really good chocolate there, and we kind of have that too.
Well, that one there you have, even though I like it, that would be considered more lower end
Oh, yeah.
chocolate.
That's what
But
I was thinking. For a low end chocolate, it's actually still quite good.
it is. That's why whenever you have, obviously not in this stream, but whenever you taste the boost or whatever, I think you'll like it a lot better.
Yeah.
Just while you're doing that, because I know you're still doing. Sam says Rose Turkish Delight is floral, but I love it. Okay. I don't think I find it floral. But again, I don't find dandelion and burdock floral either, so it might be a me thing. Um, Leslie says I can buy 12 Tango Orange for $18. Is that good? Ooh, no. Not good at all, Leslie. Um, Amazon US has many UK items. I really like digest this with my chamomile tea. What UK food should I avoid on Amazon US? Ooh, I don't know what foods you should avoid, but what I would say to you is, unfortunately, this is where I would say probably customs are coming into play, Leslie. But like, a 12 pack of Tango over here would be around £3-4. So the fact that they're charging you $18, it's a lot. I would take a shop around. It might take a little bit longer to get to you, but if you really want to try Tango, I would suggest going off Amazon because $18 for a 12 pack is not good. And Tiffany also says, I'm guessing the Rose Turkish Delight must be what they had. My roomie in college was a huge Narnia fan, so she was very excited about getting it and was not impressed. Okay, maybe it's just a me thing. Maybe I don't taste florally things. Oh wow, there's a lot of comments here. Keep it
I
up.
know. It's because
keep
now you're
keep it
reading
coming,
it.
folks.
They're interacting with you.
Yeah. Hershey's tastes of vomit. I actually agree, Tony. I really don't like Hershey's. And our other Tony, he says, when I lived in Israel as a teen, didn't know that. That's awesome. As a teen challenge volunteer, I worked alongside a New Yorker who gave me PB Max. I don't know what that is.
Sounds familiar, but I don't know what it is either.
Yeah. I'm guessing peanut butter and the bar is Max, but it's not a name I know. And also Three Musketeers. Yes, they
We've
used to
talked
be
about
more.
this, haven't we?
Well, the Three Musketeers used to be more prominent here, but they're. I think we can still get them. They're just not a bar that you see in our local shops very often. Put it that way. Kofi says his Welsh mentor introduced him to dandelion and burdock. He drank it by the liter. Yeah, it's well known and loved over here. Within a within a subsection, because there are those people, as I say, think it tastes like flowers or whatever. And then yeah, I think we're caught up again.
But you saw
Although
the tea I sent you, which literally was just flowers, so I have no problem drinking flowers.
yes, now hang on. Okay, it was on my desk because I have very little of it left anymore.
Oh,
But
nice.
yeah,
So that was a winner.
yeah, nearly gone. So
Awesome.
yeah, it's really nice. I just needed to go and get myself a proper tea strainer. Because the one I had, unfortunately, the netting was too big, so a lot of it was drifting out into it, which doesn't bother me personally, because like I drank it anyway. Even with the bits floating in it, but I did want to get a better one just to get a better dunk from it. So
Yeah.
CD says has if anyone has ever had applets and cotlets, is that similar to? I don't know what that is.
Huh.
Do you know what it is?
Doesn't sound familiar to me. What is it called?
Well, unless I'm pronouncing it wrong. Applets and cotlets.
Applets. Huh. Nope. I can't find that comment either. Oh yeah, I see it now. Okay. Ever had applets and cotlets? That's interesting, Sealy. I bet if I look it up, we
Yeah,
could see
give it
at
a
least
Google while I finish these comments.
applets and
Um,
cotlets.
Our other
Ah,
Tony says it was a delicious. The PB Max. This is it was a delicious U.S. chocolate peanut bar, and not had anything else like it. And then he goes on to say it was discontinued. Makes sense to why I maybe haven't heard of it then. Joel also says Hershey's was putting less cocoa in their chocolate products. However, facing customer backlash, they announced they will restore the content by next year. Ah, okay. Very nice,
I'm
very
seeing
nice.
if I can just get a an image that's decent
What is it
size
though? But
here.
before you even bring it up, like what is it? Like a chocolate or?
Oh, it looks like Turkish delight. I'll show you in a second. I mean, you're gonna say this is Turkish delight. All right, here we go. Let me get it up here. Right? Doesn't that just looks like Turkish delight? That particular one, at least.
Yeah.
They sell different items, but I mean, that's
I wonder, is it just one of those things that it technically is Turkish delight, but they legally can't call it that?
maybe. Let me see what the box says here.
Yeah.
Deliciously soft fruit and nut candies.
Okay, fruit and nut, I guess. Yeah.
Hmm.
Probably why they can't call it Turkish delight.
Why not? You guys can call chocolate covered gelatin Turkish delight.
Well, no, if you read that, they have to call it Turkish delight.
Yeah. What are you saying?
They have their own brand on it, so like they have like an undername underneath it as well.
Oh, fries. Fries Turkish delight, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you put something in front of it, maybe.
Yeah, so like they're making it clear that it's not like Turkish delight.
It's not
Turkish.
genuine.
Yeah.
It's not the real thing.
Now this sounds interesting. This is right up my street. Tiffany says she found pistachio Turkish delight. I would eat that in a heartbeat.
Now, back to the subject of chocolate. You asked me, about American chocolate, and I said it depends which kind. Because if you were to try this, Tony's,
We have it.
yeah, I mean, that I would consider to be, and I'm not saying it's highest level chocolate, but it's more equivalent to, just a well-made chocolate that you guys have over there.
Yeah.
So we do have it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Hershey's is more of like it's like a step above maybe the like lowest end chocolate, because there is low end chocolate, but then Hershey's is like the highest of the cheap chocolate, if that makes sense. Did we get to all the comments? Or still
Oh yeah, no, some of them are still coming in.
fries were Quakers.
Yeah,
Oh.
hence the wee logo on it.
Oh, these are Quakers that made candies.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. I got to keep eating this.
Yeah.
This is good.
What else have we got here? Yeah, just more chocolate conversation. Don't think I've missed anything major. Yeah.
Well, Tony said that. Boy, Tony knows all the trivia. Okay, I got confused. Yeah, Tony Biondi said the fries were Quakers. Tony Parkinson said so. They're both Tonys know all the trivia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He said that Chuck Lonely is Dutch. Yep. Okay. Yeah, and Tony Biondi likes the pretzel version of the Tonys.
Yeah.
Oh, and Cadbury's also Quakers. Interesting. We're getting all kinds of tidbits of information about these different chocolate brands.
Which, by the way, will go in one ear and out the other ear for me, because by the time we come back to next week, you could tell me this all again, and I'd be like, oh, I didn't know that.
We're going to quiz Layman next week.
There'd be no point, because you just won't get an answer. I'll be like, I don't know.
We need to like somehow like use like some sort of Christian teaching doctrine with these things, so that way your mind will associate it better. I'm not sure how to do that.
Yeah, I don't think it'll
I
set
mean,
in either.
Quakers and doctrine. That's right there. Not the best.
No, but like my mind, like pretty much consists of either the church fathers, hadith, the Quran, the Bible, obviously.
Yeah.
But beyond that, yeah, my like I was saying to a friend there recently, like outside of the silver chair, I can't tell you the last piece of fiction that I have read. Like I am very, 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 and don't get me wrong, I like fiction. I just have found over the years my tolerance for reading fiction has gone down, as where my love of reading, theology or apologetics just keeps increasing. So
Yeah. I've never been a huge fiction person myself, although I do read it some. Denominational chocolate, says
I
Tony
think
B.
I think Keith Foskey did a video on that
I
actually.
can believe that. I think he's made denominational analogies with almost everything out there. Anything that you can think of, he kind of relates it to denominations. It's funny.
Yeah.
And then Mormons are not allowed to eat chocolate, says Joel,
No, they
because of the
are.
because of the caffeine.
No, they are allowed to eat chocolate. I don't know where he got that from.
Mm-mm.
Like
I don't know.
one of Mormon's favorite drinks of all time is a hot chocolate because they will stay away from things like coffee.
So minimal caffeine.
Well, caffeine itself is not necessarily the problem for them. They're very arbitrary with it, but like
Yeah.
you can get a Mormon that would drink an energy drink, but they'll not touch a cup of coffee, and it's mainly just because of what their prophets have said. But as for the chocolate thing, no.
I've got coffee right here, so
Sweet. Leslie says me too, Layman. I'm assuming that's about fiction, Leslie. Yeah, she says she prefers theology of the Bible. Did Tony send you a Yorkie? I believe Tony did send him a Yorkie.
really,
I think so.
let me look. I don't see one in here. Yeah, I don't see it. What's a Yorkie?
Ah, maybe he didn't. I thought on the picture he did. Yorkie is one of our most controversial, or was. Oh no, it's a crunchy. Sorry, I see
Yeah.
it now. It's beside the whisper. It's a crunchy. Yorkie was one of our most controversial bars of chocolate because for years their advertisement was it's not for girls. So it was a bar of chocolate that was specifically marketed towards men and it sold really well. Then a couple of years ago they gave in to the sort of like woke type agenda and they started removing that not only from the Yorkie bars themselves, but then they started making a pink wrapper version where it says that like girl power and all that sort of stuff. It started selling so badly that they stopped that branding as well, and now Yorkie just doesn't really have any slogan anymore. It's just Yorkie. I think they have on it something like it's big bar or something like that, but Yorkie was traditionally directed towards men.
Direct.
Well,
What made it? What made it specifically
just
appropriate for men?
No, just the branding. That's
Just the
who they.
branding.
Yeah, that's who they market it to. Because like it's big, thick chunks of chocolate. So like whenever you bite into it, like you really do have to like apply jaw power and like also bend the bar. So they just were like, yeah, look, this is not a bar for girls, and they really went into that direction, especially with the TV argument or adverts and all that sort of stuff. But of course, it all got into that sort of woke nonsense. Like we even had a box of tissue paper over here as well that was branded towards men. They were called mankerchiefs, and that branding also got stripped off because apparently a mankerchief was offensive to people.
Oh man,
Yeah.
mankerchief. All right. Someone said that Keith Foskey did a video on coffee and denominations. I think I found that it's denominations order coffee.
Mhm.
Huh. So maybe in honor of our topic we're doing here, we could watch that here. Get a little reaction. Oops. I'm just gonna let the ads play in the background before I show the video here.
Mm-hmm. Tiffany, were handkerchiefs a thing with you guys as well? I thought they were like a UK-based thing.
I never heard of them myself, but that doesn't mean
Basically, it's
they
just
weren't here.
normal tissue paper, but because they were so big, they were called handkerchiefs. Like,
Okay. So this is Denominations Order Coffee.
Beans Roasters, my name is Chad. I'll be your barista today. Well, hello, Chad. We're a group of denominations here for our monthly meeting. Sounds good. What can I get started for everyone? Yes, I'd like a large coffee, please. I'd like it regulative principle style. That means nothing added, just the way God intended. All right, well, what name would you like me to put on that cup? Sure, put Presbyterian. How do you spell that? Yeah, it's SUPERIORTHEOLOGY. That doesn't spell Presbyterian. Trust me, that's correct. I'm not going to be having coffee today. I just want a cup of ice water because I'm currently in the middle of a Daniel fast, which means I can only have water and vegetables. Chad, do y'all have any sweet tea? You know, the SBC president did say that coffee is bitter water for bitter people facing bitter times. Sure, I can bring you some sweet tea. Okay, Chad, just know this. I like my sweet tea sweet enough that it would cause a normal person to fall into a diabetic coma. I'm talking barbecue restaurant sweet tea. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring you some unsweetened tea, and we have sugar packets here on the table. I've never seen anyone try so hard to be the Antichrist. I'd like tea as well, but I'd like a hot cup of English tea with some milk. You put milk in your tea? Okay, I've definitely found the Antichrist. Did somebody say Antichrist? I'll take a beer, please. Sir, this is a coffee shop, and it's 9 a.m. I don't understand the problem. I would like a tall, organically sourced, decaffeinated coffee with steamed soy milk, sweetened with agave nectar, and sprinkled over the top with dark chocolate flakes. I would also like a paper straw. Even though it's incredibly inconvenient and it disintegrates almost immediately, we all know it's much better for the environment. Also, when you put my name on the cup, please be sure to include my pronouns are they and them. You know, they have that on the menu. It's called the lack of testosterone latte. Hey guys, check it out. I already had 3 coffees at our in-house coffee bar at the Big Eva Multiplex Mega Church and Mini Mall. Big Eva requires big energy. So I'm going to need a large iced coffee with a pump of every syrup that you have, and I want you to put as much espresso as you can that is allowed by law. Because as we know, caffeine is the Christian drug of choice. Are you sure that's safe? Hey bro, the Bible says I can drink all things through Christ who gives me strength. I'm pretty sure it doesn't say that. Agree to disagree. Hey guys, I want to take the...
Well, I it's funny. I had seen that before because I could tell that it's played through, but I don't ever really remember, at least not very much of that. Maybe there's a line or two that I remember, but it feels like that's the first time I've ever seen it.
he has quite a lot of them, and like I don't mean this in a bad
That was
way.
2
'Cause,
years
like,
ago. Okay.
Yeah. Like I don't mean this in a bad way because I find them funny, but like when you've seen one, you've kind of
Yeah.
seen them all. And like
Yeah.
again, I don't say that in a bad way, but like you know, there's only so far I think this joke can go. But Keith's gonna go for it. Put it that way.
Yeah, well, he's branched out. He does a lot of different things now, you know, because he's got a channel and podcast, and
He's
he's
still doing his stand up as well, which is
oh,
good.
okay. That's cool. Yeah, we've had Keith on a couple times. Yeah. All right. So I think I've tried all the food I'm going to try today, unless someone is like just demanding that I try something else here. But I'm gonna try all these things, but I'm planning to spread it out.
Yeah.
So, but I'm still working on the D&B anyway. So
Meanwhile, I'm through like my second can of Pepsi.
That's why you always have to scoot to the restroom before we're done with our live stream.
Well, sadly, that's not the drinks problem. That's the stupid medication I'm on.
That's true.
They're
It's combination. It's a combination.
It is, but unfortunately, the particular meds I'm on at the moment are somewhat of a diuretic. So, like, I can look at liquid, and I need to run to the toilet. So,
Not me. It's just my age. I can't blame it on medicine.
thankfully, I can.
All right.
Right. Have you got anything for us? You said you had some current events.
Yeah. Well, I do. Although I think this first thing that I want to show is a post that I saw on Facebook. I don't know if you ever, how many of you have ever seen on Facebook. There is a group called Bible Memes by Jeremy. I think Jeremy Sells is one of the people that started it. He may have even started it himself. I can't remember who started it. But anyway, I actually got put into a meme. So you might get this. You might get this, Layman, because you've seen my interactions with the other Tims, or you've heard about it. So here's what he said. Frisch, now the least controversial Tim.
Who did this?
I think it's Jeremy. Jeremy Sells did it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he's an admin for the group. Yeah, so I felt very very good about that. It's
You've
kind
made
of true.
it, then. You've made it. You're now being memed. That's what the kids call being cool. Or,
Yeah,
sorry,
well,
being-
it depends in what way you're being memed.
Oh no, to be memed, whether good or bad to them, means you've made
okay.
it. You're considered based enough to be memed.
I don't know. I feel like I'm not necessarily based in in some of the. Not that I've ever been like a all out advocate for updating the NKJV. Speaking of that, I got another thing I'll show here.
Meanwhile, we've got Tony here with awful puns.
Awful what?
Awful puns.
Awful puns.
Do you not see his comment?
No, because I was getting something.
He
ready.
said, "I'm reading a book called Living with Incontinence. It's by Lee King." I'm not a pun guy, by the way, so I'll put that out there.
So Colton, he says day 7 of asking literal word to please add the NKJV until it happens, and I was gonna just not comment on his post, but I was just gonna make the comment here that maybe they're waiting for the NKJV update before they put it on the app.
I think you might cause him to malfunction.
I'm not gonna put that on his post because we don't want him to, have any major turmoil.
Do you know it's going to be really funny now, though? But if they do announce that there is going to be an anniversary update, after all the joking, it's going to be quite funny if that actually happens.
I think they should on April 1st.
No, because
Just
like
add to the.
too many people will get it.
Oh
But,
yeah.
I'm telling you,
I don't know. Even after that last thing, it took a lot to convince people that there wasn't going to be an update.
I think it's because a lot of people have in their mind, like, quote unquote, it's due an update.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
Huh.
It's gone for a modern quote unquote translation. It has gone longer than any other translation I can think of without an update.
No,
Now,
this is-
to just throw a little kindling to the fire there. Technically, everybody's using an updated NKJV now because they did update it
Pardon me.
in '84, I think it was. They never made a big thing of it. Like you can hardly tell that there was an update done as far as publicity, but there is a difference between the first NKJVs and the ones we use now. It's like maybe a handful of verses at most, very minor, but that doesn't seem to matter to people. If you were to update something a handful of verses, they'd still get angry.
I think it's because what people have come to expect when the words we are updating this translation means.
Yeah.
Because like even when we reacted to the ESV changes, even though the majority of them, and I would say to be honest, nearly all of them, which is the majority, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
They weren't major at all, but yet people get up in arms about it. But it's because it's a translation they love, or they think it should be fixed or whatever. So
Yeah.
now, here's a bit of spicy news for your audience. Not that it really involves them too much, but I have wondered why my neighbors have had their lights on for this last number of nights, because like they normally don't, and their lights have been on into the wee hours of the morning. I can now look across the street and see that the windows are completely, like there's no curtains and all the furniture has been moved. So it looks like I'm getting new neighbours, which now explains why they were up so late all those nights, because I was wondering what was happening. But so now you've all been updated on the exciting news.
Are you like peeking out the window at various times of night?
My window is well, there's the curtain. My window is literally right here. So when I sit here to record a video, do
You
a
can't help
podcast,
it. You can't help
edit,
but see it.
It's like I'll not say too much because I don't want to dox myself, but not that this part will dox myself, but I don't want to give away too much of a location. But right beside that house that I'm looking at is my uncle's house. So like I'm a stone's throw from my uncle as well. So
Okay. I could see my neighbors, but I have a shade that's completely pulled down. So if I wanted to just be staring at my neighbor's house, I could right there.
creepy.
That's why I have a shade down. Well, it's not the only reason I have a shade down. Hey, you're the one who's telling us about looking at your neighbor.
Well, it's empty, so there's not like there's anyone there now to be stared at. But yeah.
But back to the translation, Hooney said updated NKJV. You mean the MEV? And yeah, I don't think it would be great to get into it, but there's definitely been some interesting drama surrounding both the NKJV and MEV, and things that Tim Nichols has talked about. That's one of the reasons that meme was made about me being the least controversial Tim.
Certainly got himself in a bit of a spicy jam. It's not a lot of people were happy about it, from what I've seen, even when they found out it was a joke.
Yeah, I know. Now, NetDude said, "Hey Tim," and this is someone I remember seeing you as a viewer, like when I first started. So it's good to see you there. It's neat when you see people that you haven't seen in quite a long time. It's awesome to see you still here.
People checking out the live streams. That's what you want.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, as far as like serious stuff, I do have a couple things that I could, but I do want to keep this manageable today. One of the things actually this is a Substack article that someone I know wrote. He's a friend of mine.
It's not
and
me.
No, it's not you. It's not you. You've written plenty of Substack articles.
I have, but the last 3 to 4, maybe 5 to 6 months, there's barely been any articles from me. It's been multiple writers now for me. So we just recently crossed 600 subscribers today too. So
nice. Yeah, and your YouTube channel is getting up close to 1,000.
Yes, it's, I don't know what it's at right this second, but we're like 40 something away from 1K. And whenever we hit 1K, I am partnering up with Arc Rebinders, and we're going to do a Bible giveaway for someone. So
35 away.
35 away. So there you go, folks.
You
If
are
you're not
just
subscribed, head
getting
on over.
closer and closer as we speak.
Yep.
That's great.
Yep.
Yeah. So this friend of mine, this other friend who also writes on Substack, and I will say, I don't always agree with this person, but he he brought up a topic that I just thought would be interesting to bring up. It's something I'm hearing about in the United States a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I assume you guys talk about it some too, but I'm not sure exactly how it translates to your context. But basically, I'll show you the title here. He says, when biblical manhood means taking away her vote. I thought Doug Wilson's stance on repealing the 19th Amendment was fringe. Then I watched people I know defend it. So what kind of the beginning of the article talks about is how he didn't think that view was real common, but he's starting to find out it is a rapidly growing view.
Mm-hmm.
Repealing the 19th Amendment, which gives women the right to vote.
Mm-hmm. Just before you go on, hey Kobe, just because we normally don't this time.
Yeah. So that's kind of the first thing is just the topic of how much that particular subject is gaining traction. I even saw, I don't know which political action group it was, but it was like someone who was asking people at something, I can't remember if it was Turning Points even maybe, and there were a lot of people
Could be, yeah.
very much in favor of repealing the 19th Amendment. So,
Mm-hmm.
and again, this is a friend of mine, so if he ever watches this, I'd love to talk with him about it more, but I've really tried to express to people like him that there is a growing political movement that a lot of people are unaware of, and I think he's starting to see this now. But he was kind of shocked by it. I'm not shocked because I'm very much aware of what's happening, especially on the political right. But yeah, he was really shocked by this. And then he kind of takes arguments and he tries to give, he tries to counter arguments that would be in favor of it. And then he even talks a little bit about the specific scripture that people use to say men should be the one voting.
Mm-hmm.
And he's specifically actually referencing Doug Wilson's view, which is interesting because apparently Doug Wilson doesn't say only men can vote. He says only households should vote.
Mm-hmm.
So if a household is only a woman in the household, then she can vote. But if there's a household with a family and there's a man who's at the head, then the male should be the one voting. But even with that view, this writer sharply disagrees with that.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's interesting because he discusses the passage in Ephesians 5 where it talks about the husband being the head. And we could get into that a little bit, but he's not totally convinced that means that the husband is over the wife, I guess maybe is the way he's questioning it. Whereas I would say it says in Ephesians 5, wives submit to your husbands. Like it's very clear that there is a hierarchy, if you will. And also the analogy is Christ and the church. And it's not as if Christ is saying we're on equal ground and, that he has to submit to us in any way. Like, we submit to Christ and a wife is to reverence her husband.
Well, it's funny you say that because unfortunately there are people that make that argument, though.
I can believe that, but
Yeah.
but you hear what I'm saying in the context where Paul's actually saying, wives, show reverence to your husbands, be submissive to your husbands. It's pretty clear, even if you quibble with the word head, it's pretty clear in context what he's saying there. Anyway, that's that's the argument he's critiquing. And he's ultimately saying, oh, and maybe I should just read the end of it.
Sure.
If I can find the other tab here. So this is the actual Substack article. And then when we get to the end, he says at the very end here, I'm disappointed to see this growing among people I know, but I'm hoping that the majority of Christians will look at this theology honestly and reject it, not because it's politically inconvenient, but because it fails on its own terms, theologically, logically, and morally. I'm counting on my Christian friends, especially the pastors and leaders in conservative churches, to speak out against this abuse of Scripture anytime they encounter it, not because it's popular, because it's right, and because the women in your congregations are watching to see whether you will. So certainly a topic that I think is going to, I think this conversation is going to become more and more prevalent.
Yeah. Like, Seeley here has commented, there are people who think voting should be by household rather than individually, followed by Tiffany saying, I like the household vote idea. It gives widows who have years of wisdom a voice, but also highlights leadership. There is a lot of people I know, women that I know, that don't want the responsibility of voting. Like, they say that freely. They don't want the responsibility of voting. They're not actively involved in politics. They don't know who they should vote for, and they defer to their husbands on that. I don't think that's a wrong thing. So his argument kind of, it just assumes that women automatically want to vote, as where that's not true of all women. So it's a much wider conversation than I think he wants it to be.
Yeah. Now, my question for you would be like, is this even like something that comes up in Northern Ireland at all? No.
No.
Okay.
It's more American. It's not like there's no conversations about it over here. Like, people, of course, like, have casual conversations about it, but like, is it something that's in the news? Is it something that people seriously debate and talk about? No, not really. Voting over here is, most people over here, to be honest, statistically don't even vote.
Yeah. Well, I just want to start pulling in some comments here too. So first of all, Tony says complementarianism isn't an excuse for misogyny, though. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's why I wanted to bring this up. I think it's a topic that it's hard to handle it like just kind of just in a quick format like this. I mean, but that's, I think, how a lot of people perceive this, that it is misogyny. But I would imagine a lot of people would say they're not misogynistic. They're not like down on women, and even women are some of the ones actually saying.
Well, I was going to say,
Yeah.
pull up Tiffany's comment. This is not a shot at Tony, by the way. I love Tony. But what I'm saying is, whenever people do this whole thing of like, this is, abusive to women or whatever, they really are.
Is this the one you're talking about?
No. Or
Oh, I'm
very
sorry.
last comment. Yeah, the very last one at the bottom. It really does. It ignores the complete data set of women that are like, I don't want to vote. I have no interest in politics, and I would rather defer to my husband. Because that is the household vote.
Right.
So, again, that's not a shot at Tony, but what I'm saying is, for the gentleman who wrote this article, for the gentleman that opposed this, it's fine. You can oppose it. I don't really care in that regard. But what I would say is, you do need to take into account the fact that there are women out there that are like, I don't want to vote. I trust my husband's vote on this, and I would prefer he would take my vote and we vote as a household. Because if you don't include all the different groups, from the people that want to vote, don't want to vote, men that are maybe actually being abusive and saying to their wife, you don't have a choice, I'm voting for you. It's too wide of a data set to just go, the people that hold the household vote idea are being misogynistic, or they're being controlling, or whatever it is. Because there is honestly a lot of women out there that are like, I have no interest in voting, don't know who to vote for, and I will defer to my husband.
And there's, yeah, also, I would imagine in that demographic of what you're just talking about, a lot of those women would say, if I told my husband my opinion, I trust him to consider that,
Hmm.
to evaluate that, and then ultimately I trust, what he thinks is best. Like, so it is complementarianism. If by that you mean, distinctive roles between husband and wife, it's not necessarily, you know, misogynistic, and I don't think Tony's saying it is,
No,
but I
'cause I knew he wasn't. I know he's clarified himself. I know Tony's not thinking that. I'm just saying there are people out there that throw that out there that, oh, it's misogynistic, and it's like it's really not. But anyway,
yeah,
sorry.
yeah, and I'm glad you clarified that, Tony. It's not, and you're right. There is the potential. There are misogynistic people who, really have a twisted view, and they somehow think men are like literally superior in every way, and it's like,
Mhm.
no, that's not true.
No,
But men and women are different, and I think the idea of
sure.
having roles can actually play into this whole
Yeah.
subject.
Because again, just before you bring up Philip's comment, because that's relevant to America as
Hmm.
well. What I would also say is the vast majority of people that call themselves complementarian would actually be for women voting. It's more the patriarchal crowd that are like, no, the man should vote for the household. But even within that group of the patriarchy, you have to distinguish again, like Tony said, there is definitely a subsect of them that are just straight up women are dumb, they shouldn't get a vote, because they say these things online, so this is not just me making this up. But there is, even within the large group of patriarchal families and things like that, there are still women out there that are like, I don't want to vote. I'm going to leave that to my husband. So again, it's not, we can't just say, look, it is this and it is that, or it's not this and it's not that, because the thing is, the data is just too wide to box
Yeah.
everybody. And the simple fact is, if I had my way, if I was king of the UK, I would limit voting to households for numerous reasons. I'm not going to get into them all right now because it would lead into far too many rabbit trails, but I would say limit votes to households. I would also say if you are taking from the government and not giving anything in return, i.e., not paying tax or whatever, and I'm not talking about people who are poor that are genuinely, say, on government benefits or
Poor,
whatever. I'm
by the
saying
way.
people
I
that,
always have to make sure everybody knows when you say that you're talking about the poor.
yeah, yeah,
Sorry.
that's fine. But you would have to look at that and see if you're taking money from the government and you don't need that money, so i.e., like you're scamming essentially. Yeah, I don't think you should have a vote. I really don't think you should have a vote, because you're obviously going to vote for further benefit increases, and I don't think that should be a thing. I don't know what it would look like. That's why I said if I was king, I would have to try and set up some sort of system. But overall, I like the household idea, and I wouldn't explicitly tie it to scripture, because I think you're stretching a little bit to like, you can make the connection, but to ultimately say that it's biblical,
Right, right, right. So let me bring up Orthodox Philip's viewpoint here. I learned in school that the original intent of the founding fathers was not to restrict women from voting, but to limit votes to one per household.
yep.
And then he says, I assume they believe most people would have
Hmm.
families. But that being said, they didn't allow women to vote.
No, but that's what he's clarifying. The idea behind it wasn't just women bad, dumb, don't vote. It
Okay.
was households vote, because the idea
Right.
being you're going to have a family. Because and again, we can maybe do a whole other
And you
stream
had to
on
be
this.
like, I feel like at the very beginning, there were a lot of stipulations on voting.
Well,
Didn't you have
there
to
were.
own
You had to be a
property? And
landowner.
yeah,
Well, you had to be a landowner and stuff like
yeah,
that. That's what I say. It kind of ties into a little bit
yeah.
of what I said. Like, if you're not giving but just taking, I personally, and I'll make that clear, personally don't think you should vote. Now,
Yeah.
if someone comes to me and says, "Look, I'm genuinely on disability, all this, that. I'm not removing your right to vote. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about people in our society, and there's a lot of it in the UK, where people flat out refuse to work and they have nothing medically wrong
Right.
with them.
Right.
My opinion is you don't work, you don't vote.
Right. Right.
Why should you have a say where my tax money goes? You shouldn't.
Right. Yeah, and as far as the American context, I think another thing that plays into this is that America has never been a pure democracy, if you will. And I think that's something that modern Americans don't like. Like they really like the idea of everybody having a voice and everybody kind of having a sense of control. But it's like the original, the way things were structured, and that still carries over in the way we do elections.
Hmm.
You're not even electing the president directly.
No.
You are sending electors from your state, and then your state has a certain amount of electoral votes that go toward the election of the president, which all it is a representative system. So in a representative system, it could make sense to say you're going to have one person who represents the household.
Yeah.
But that's very averse to the way people think nowadays. We're very individualistic.
It is, and that's why I'm glad you brought that up, because Kobe brought up a few good points there as well. But this is the shift that's happened in a lot of our mindsets. We are very individualistic now. We don't tend to think as families, and I think that's a bad thing. Because initially, whenever the idea of being put forward, as like Philip said, like your founding fathers, their idea was not women are dumb, women shouldn't vote. It was, let's produce a system where the family voice is taken into consideration, right? So you had ultimately the father's the main voice, right? But like you said earlier, Tim, it's not that he didn't listen to his wife, or he was just like, and pardon my language, but shut up, woman, you don't have an
Right.
opinion. It's not that. That
No.
was never the idea. Unfortunately, you do get people that abuse it like that. So I would say Tony's right in that as well.
Yeah.
But ultimately, the reason why, and again, we'll not go into all the economic roots and stuff because we'll be here for a lifetime. But the reason why a lot of people like the household vote is, as I said, one, some women just do not want the responsibility. They don't care for it and they want to leave it in their husband's hands. Perfectly biblical, in my opinion. Second, the idea of the household vote is a lot more secure than multiple individuals voting. Why? Because you've got some people out there that genuinely should not vote. In the UK, I'm not even going to get into your system because we all know what was accused of the election between Biden and Trump, the steal and all that sort of stuff. We are having illegal immigrants over here. Like, this has been documented and verified. We're having illegal immigrants that are allowed to vote. How/why? That should not be a thing. Right? So that's why we would say that a household vote matters. And the reason why the household vote matters is doesn't just mean, if you're in a household or whatever, but in a lot of systems it would be originally if you owned land, if you contributed to society, your family was in good standing, those types of things. That's what the household vote used to entail. But now whenever we hear household vote, people just automatically assume the husband's the dictator and he's controlling the wife's vote. She doesn't have an opinion, and again, that may exist in some small subsect, but overall, I would say no.
Yeah. And we're getting affirmation from the audience too. That our system is supposed to balance democracy and monarchy. And then Joel says the U.S. is a constitutional republic and representative democracy. And I mean, I can only speak from my own experience, but it is kind of interesting that in my household, like, I pay attention to politics way more than my wife does. Way more. And maybe that's not true across the board for everybody, but I mean, I know in my house. So my wife asks me a lot of times, what I think about that stuff, so it kind of, lends into this very idea anyway about the idea of representing your family.
Yeah, because like what you just said, are there women that are in politics? Well, yeah, that's obvious. We can see that. Are there women that like politics? Absolutely. But generally speaking, do the majority of the female population, no matter the country you're in, like politics? When you look at the numbers, no, the majority don't.
And they have a different way of approaching politics,
Hmm.
which is a whole other conversation.
It is, and I'll say this much: I'll not name them because they're on X, and they're a mutual of mine. But they put out, I think it was, oh goodness, it was sometime last year, like whenever there was the debate, the election debates and stuff were going on. They put out the statement that they are way too emotive to vote on certain issues. And because of that, she said she prefers to defer to her husband because he's not thinking emotionally, he's thinking logically. Now, to a lot of people, and again, I hate to say it, but it's true. So you can come at me rather than Tim, this is my opinion. A lot of women hear that and they go, "Oh, how dare you say that? It wasn't me that said it. It was a woman that said it." And she wasn't alone. She got a ton of likes and comments and support saying, "Yeah, so true." No, that's anecdotal. I get that. But if you look at the sample size of her tweets and all the comments she got, like she went semi-viral for the time. It shows that this is not just a lone opinion of a woman being like, "Oh, I don't like politics." I would say, generally speaking, a lot of women don't like politics, and then therefore they do defer to their husbands, or even their fathers in some cases.
Yep. I think, I mean, again, I'm only speaking from my own experience, and there's plenty of women in my household, my wife, daughters. I would say that generally holds true that they're not always as keen on the whole political stuff. Yeah.
Dude,
It's
look,
not that they don't think it's important, by the way. They just don't like the messiness of it, the process of it, the arguments, the debates, the all of that stuff.
but that's exactly what I was going to say before you even said that. I was going to say, dude, half of us men don't like politics.
True.
The only reason we pay attention to it is because it is important. Because if we don't know what we're voting for, if we don't know who we're supporting, we're in trouble.
That's
But
right.
yeah, again, like men barely even like politics. Like you shouldn't be surprised that women are deferring to their husbands.
Right.
Now, again, that's not necessarily a grand slam dunk on why it should be a household vote. I'm just saying, from my personal opinion, I see zero issue with household votes as long as it's not like a dictatorship, which, again, I think in the majority of cases, it's not.
It's pretty complicated because
It is.
there's the ideal, like what should be. Yeah, I don't know what
Funny
that's
comment.
referring to. By the way, I saw you.
Liz Truss.
Yeah, who's
were-
Liz Truss?
She was our prime minister for the guts of 5 minutes. That's how bad she was.
Oh my goodness. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I forget what I was going to say.
Sorry, I didn't mean to throw you off. I just wanted to comment and laugh.
No. Yeah, it's okay. The other thing I was just saying it's complicated because there's the ideal of what we would have if society operated according to traditional as well as biblical I mean all of those things. Like there was a time when marriage was just the fabric of society. It's not that way anymore. Like, what is even a household today? You have in America, you have households with 2 men or 2 women who are married. So who gets the vote? It's so.
Well, you see, that's actually evidence, though, but in favor of what we're saying, because like the West has gone astray a lot. Because the point I was going to point out, it relates now into what you were saying, but I was going to bring this up beforehand just to disprove the individualism that we have in our societies today. I saw a couple of days ago a young woman being verbally attacked on X because her and her husband live with her parents, and everybody was like, "You're leeches, you're this, that, and the other." Then the young woman came out and says, "Look, we live in a East Asian country. This is normal over here. You live with your parents, your grandparents, your extended family." That's foreign to us as Westerners because we have this idea that the moment you're 18, you get married. Whatever age it is, you get married. You go have kids. You go away from your family. And look, in certain situations, yes, you do, because like biblically speaking, you could even say you leave your mother and father, but that doesn't automatically necessitate that you necessarily leave the household. Or I would argue it does. But what I'm saying is, I'm not saying you have to go a million miles away from them, because in a lot of Eastern countries, those, especially in India and things like that, they all live with their parents and their grandparents, and they have much more of a rich family uh,
Yep.
group together. So, like, if you propose the idea to them that they voted as a household, they'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. As we're over here, you propose voting as a family, you're going to get a lot of people like, oh, I don't like that. Why? Because we're all individualists.
Yep. Yep.
I don't know what way I pronounced that. That came out really weird there.
Individualist. That sounds right. And then I don't know if you
Really
saw.
announced it though.
I don't know, Layman. If we limit votes to households, then we lose the voice of liberal university students, which are so valuable
Oh
to the
dear.
direction of our country.
Oh dear, Philip. How
He
awful.
might be a little bit sarcastic in that.
I know he is. But that is the thing though. But that is why you do get a lot of conservative Christians that do find an appeal in household votes, because it does mitigate things like this, and it does, again, because here's another conversation. I'm not saying we have to get into it right now, but here is another conversation that you need to have. Why do we have this idea that voting is a right? Is it
I
a
was going to
right?
ask you.
Well,
You, what do you think
I
is a
think it's a duty.
biblical form of government?
Well, we can come on to that in a minute, but what I was going to say is, to
Because
me,
it ties into what are rights,
well,
If
well,
God
that's
gives
it.
us our rights,
Well, that's my point. I don't think that voting is a right. I think it's a duty and a privilege. I think it's a duty and a privilege that you get to contribute to your country's governance by who you vote for. Now, if your government's corrupt and they rig the vote or whatever, that's nothing on you. You're doing your duty, what you should do, right? A lot of people come into this conversation, the quote that gets thrown around a lot is, between two evils, choose neither. That sounds great, but it's not always practical. Because if I've got the choice between someone who wants to abort every child after, let's say, 10 weeks, right? And I've got someone who wants to not only abort from the moment of conception, but maybe up even until like a month or two after birth. Which one should I vote for? Well, a lot of people are going to do the whole choose neither, but the thing is, when you don't vote, the likelihood is that the worst evil is actually going to get into power. So vote this direction. Now, is it ideal? Of course not. A lot of people feel very dirty whenever they have to vote for, the lesser of two evils. But again, if you want to have a say, you need to put your vote in a direction. Why? Because maybe next election term, they'll see the drift towards that party, and then a party further to the right, more conservative from them, comes about and says, look, no abortion at all, because that's the direction you want to go in, versus the direction that, oh, abortion in every direction. So for me, yeah, I don't think voting is a right.
Mm-hmm. The other thing too is we had a time where we had the ability to do what we're talking about. As men, we were the ones who were considered the heads, and we were the ones who had the ability, to represent the household. And I happen to be reading Uncle Tom's Cabin, which you may have heard of that book. It's very, very momentous in U.S. history. Was one of the books that was in the leading time up to the Civil War, and so reading that book and kind of reading what was going on, there is an aspect of it. It's like, even when we have the choice, sometimes men make really bad choices too, and they're not standing on good principles. And so it's kind of a reminder, regardless of the situation we're in, make sure you're voting according to what is right and what you really believe, God is, mandating you to do. I feel like that's something that, I don't know if I'm communicating this well, but we can complain about where we're at today, but it's where we're at today is partly because of choices made in the past, and some of those things had to do with really bad choices that were made when men had a lot of power.
Yep.
So it's not always it's not always a simple answer of we had the power, we'd make everything right, So
Well, look, here's the thing. I agree with everything you just said, but here's the thing that I would throw into it. Should men make every dumb decision in the world? I still think it's good biblical advice for the woman to get behind her husband. Why? Because the buck ultimately does stop with the man. Like when you go to the Garden of Eden, who was the one that took the fruit from the tree? Eve.
a woman, right?
Who did God lay the blame at? Adam.
Right.
Now, if people want to go around saying that biblical headship is misogynistic, it's this, that, and the other, well, actually, no. What I would say is to be the head means that a lot of the buck stops with you. So the men are the ones that have to give an account. Now, can a man be a bad husband, a bad leader? Of course. If a man is trying to entice his wife into something that is clearly sinful, she's under no biblical warrant to follow his leadership in that area. However, if it's an area where it's not sin, but maybe she thinks his decision's not well informed, and move it away from voting, move it into he wants to invest in a company that he thinks is doing well. She's a bit more business minded, and she's like, I don't know. I personally would say that she should follow her husband's lead, because ultimately, if something does go wrong, the buck does stop with him, and it's his responsibility to fix it. Now, I know why that gets a lot of people uneasy, and they're like, oh, I don't know about that. That's just an example off the top of my head. Examples aren't always the best thing whenever you're thinking about them right there and then. But if it's not something that's out and out sinful, let the man take the lead. If he demonstrates that he's not a wise leader or whatever, that's an area of growth that he needs to grow in. But for people that are like, a wife submitting to her husband is just dictatorship or tyranny, I would say that's emotional pleading.
Yeah.
And not everybody does that, but
No, and I wasn't in any way saying that's an argument against men. What I am saying though is we had the chance, and we are where we're at today because of us. If you think about it, right? If you just go back, like we put ourselves in all of these situations, So we reap what we sow.
Exactly. That's what I was saying. What I was saying was actually in agreement with you, because the thing is, take another 50 years, this same, let's say the entire demographic changes between America and Ireland, and for whatever reason, it's household votes, men get the say in everything. Let's forward on 50 years in the future, and the world is looking like it's about to quite literally kick the bucket because of how bad the decisions men have made. That would still not be a reason, and I know you're not saying this, but I'm saying this to people listening. That would not be a reason that someone could point to and go, see, this is why women should lead. Because whether men made a good decision or a bad decision, the simple fact is God said that the man leads. So whatever God says for his creation, that's the best. Now, if you are a godly Christian man that is submitting himself to his head, Christ, I think the Holy Spirit will lead you into good decisions. Doesn't mean you're going to be protected, from making mistakes or anything like that.
I think that's what I'm partly pushing at here is, don't think the answer is simply to have male votes.
No.
Because you've heard me critique this for years, like the whole CN stuff. I get where they're coming from. Like it's. Of course, we want to honor God. I think Christians deep in their souls want God to be honored, even on a national level. Of course. However, that cannot happen if we are not truly godly in our character. That's why I get so frazzled and upset. You've seen me many times by people who, they supposedly represent the Bible, but their character just is so it's so problematic. It's like, what is motivating this person? Is it really the glory of Christ, or is it something else? And it's like, even if we gave all the men the vote, if that's the kind of character leading us, we're still going to have problems.
Of course you will. Of course you will. That's why I say it would never be a reason that someone could come along and be like, look, told you, Sandra, women should have led. Because again, even if men make the worst decisions in the world, it's still the order God has called us to. However, in line with what you said, there are unfortunately some people out there, and I'm not going to name them because it just stirs up unnecessary drama as per usual. But there are some men out there that I think genuinely mean well. Like, I think they genuinely do mean well. But the problem is their personality gets worse and worse. And why does it get worse and worse? Because they see, I am fighting such evil on the left of me that I need to go further and further to the right. Yeah. Problem with that is, though, but is you start to move yourself into a territory where other Christians are looking at you and going, what on earth are you doing? But the problem then for that person that's moved so far to the right is they're looking at the person that's never moved. They're looking at them and go, why have you moved to the left? Why are you critiquing me? I'm your brother. So I understand the sentiment of, never punched to the right. But it's just not feasible. Because you can go so far to the right, you're no longer on the right. You can also go so far to the left, you're no longer on the left. Like, if people don't recognize that, I don't really know what to say to them. That's why I tend to stay out of that side of things as much as possible, because unfortunately, people really do like this idea of, would you denounce this person? Would you denounce that person? I don't do those performative games. The thing is, there are some people out there that, genuinely, I would have massive, massive disagreements with them. But I just tend to stay out of their way, because I tend to see that when people are less talked about, they lose momentum. Corey Mather is barely brought up these days. Why? Because nobody's talking about him anymore. He's no longer doing his podcast with his co-host anymore. Why? Because he's no longer popular. Whenever, I'm not saying this is the best advice in the world, because obviously there are times when you need to speak up and speak out. But there are some occasions where wisdom is not answering the fool according to their folly. And that can look like just ignoring them, because they drift off into irrelevance at times. So that's just a little rant on my side.
Yeah. Well, I totally understand that, and I don't, you know me online. I don't do a lot of drawing attention to people myself, because but at the same time, we do need to make sure we are voicing, not with, you don't even have to bring up people, just keep voicing. And I think you've done it, and I think I'm doing the best I can too. Like, we've got to be godly. That it's not enough to just say, if we have these political things in place, it's magically going to be that has always been the problem in church history. We've had power before. We've had political power. We've had Christians in charge saying we are a Christian government. And look what happened. And of course, I say this as a Baptist who, we're a little bit on edge about about how Christians sometimes treat each other politically and what happens to them. It's bad when you're getting drowned by your government,
Do you know what the solution is? Everybody just elect me king of the Christians.
That's true.
I'll sort it all out.
If
anyone that disagrees gets sent to meet the Lord. I'm very generous. I'm joking, by the way. But that is the mindset behind a lot of people. A lot of people just think, look, I have this worked out perfectly. Yeah. And if I was in charge of the world, I would have it put to rights in a moment. I've shared this on this podcast before, and I share it with all the young men I mentor. I will never forget dear mentor of mine, Marshall, long gone to be now with the Lord, many, many years. Very quiet man, not, he was masculine, don't get me wrong. Very good worker, but he wasn't, beat your chest, look at me, I'm Mr. Macho. He was very, very soft-spoken. And I can't remember how it came up. It must have been a question I asked him or something, but the statement never left me. I remember him saying to me, if God granted me his power for a day, watch everything I would change. If he granted me his wisdom for a day, watch me leave everything as it is. That always stuck with me.
Mm.
And I think it's important to realize God is in control of the ship. He knows where we're going. Don't get me wrong, there are evil things that happen, but ultimately God will bring good out of those things. He is bringing world history to a climax in Christ, right? Does not mean that we get to be hands off, we don't get to speak up, we don't get to do... No, of course we're called to be salt and light in the world. But here's the thing. You thinking that if you had all the power in the world you would fix everything, you wouldn't. God's already fixing it. That is the point of history. It is all being brought together into a neat point where it's eventually going to be a renewed creation. And if you're an enemy of Christ, I say this with all due respect, submit to him now, because one day your knee will bow, but it will be too late. Trust in the Lord for your salvation, because today is the day of salvation. And as for everybody else that thinks, this, I would rule it this way, I would rule it the other, that's fine. Grow your own little kingdom if you want. Because to quote Johnny Cash, it's an empire of dirt.
Someone had a question for you. I'm not sure the specific point they were referring to, but they're asking.
Yeah, Norma.
Maybe clarify the question. Why did they have
Joel,
the Reformation?
Joel, you can clarify the question, but ultimately the reason the Reformation was because of abuses in the Catholic Church at the time.
I think you have to distinguish between the Reformation versus, and they overlap for sure, but the governmental Protestant movement, in other words, that there was a protesting taking place, and that was political. So the Reformation I'm good with. The protesting stuff is a mixed bag for me, because again, that gets into some of the history, even Baptists, and how they fit into the governments.
Well, to put it short and sweet, like this is way too neat of a bow, but judging by the time we're at, we're not probably going to be going massively in depth. But what a lot of people have to realize is that the Reformation took place, and I know this sounds obvious, but what I'm saying is a lot of people don't think logically through these things. And by the way, Joel, that's not a comment to you, I'm saying in general. A lot of people don't think logically what it means for something to take place in a particular time and place, because again, that sounds self-evident. But the Reformation took place ultimately as a response to accretions that crept into the Roman Church. Martin Luther didn't want to leave the Roman Catholic Church. He eventually got excommunicated by the Pope. Now, as you go on throughout the years of the Reformation, yes, groups started then tying themselves to princes, to kings, to royal lineages. Why? Because
that's, by the way, what he was bringing up. He said, "Appoint you the Christian king."
Oh yeah, well,
wasn't that?
Well, put it this way: don't appoint me Christian king.
No, but he's saying, isn't that what the Reformation was ultimately trying to do? Have a Christian king.
No, I would say no.
Okay.
Ultimately, this is what I mean by it being a byproduct of its time. You have to realize that the power and wealth that was behind the Vatican was something that the reformers couldn't combat. So they often tied themselves with kings and princes, and there was concessions made. That's why in a lot of places,
England was kind of the weird, in my opinion.
Well,
that was a really weird situation.
Well, yeah. Look, I'm not as qualified to talk on that part. Like a lot of my Anglican friends have rebutted this point, which I think is a good thing. But the most common lay point, and I'm not saying it's a point I'm making, but the most common lay point is people think that the entire point of the English Reformation, was because Henry just wanted a divorce. There were other factors behind it and things like that. Like, I'm not going to get into it right now.
But still, the fact that he would give himself a position that he did. What was his position in the church is, I guess, what I would ask.
He's the head of the church.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah.
Regardless of what was the reason for it,
But that's the point I'm making, though. But like, we would look at that and we wouldn't agree with that.
Yeah.
However, whenever you lived in that time period, a commoner couldn't have spoke up and said, "Henry, you're not head of the church." Why? They would be unalived. Now, there was many that were unalive for it. But the other thing too is you have to remember the Reformation was still a time period. This is why we say post tenebras lux, after darkness light. The majority of people throughout the medieval period couldn't read. The only parts of the scripture they knew is what they heard, which was often being taught by the priest, but it was in Latin. So when you take the population that could speak Latin as well, it was very minimal.
Yeah.
So these are all reasons why the Reformation took place, and it was also to get the scripture into the hands of people like me, layman, right?
Yeah.
Famous quote. Do you remember it, Tim?
No.
About the plowboy?
Oh, yeah. I can't quote it, but I know what you're talking about. Yep.
Essentially, basically, he would cause it, by getting the scriptures into everybody's hands. He would cause the plowboy to know more about scripture than the Pope himself.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Mark Ward needs to be here because he would be able to quote that verbatim. He loves that.
He does.
Yeah.
But the yeah.
If you want me to just bring this up, he's basically right on the same page as us. I think what he was actually saying is that Reformation was trying to get away. But what I was thinking is they were trying to, but politically they didn't always succeed because the church did get wrapped up in politics in ways that sometimes, were problematic in other ways.
Because that's what I mean, though. But you have to, because we know God's providence, right?
Yeah.
We can look back and see, okay, I'm not talking about me, but say you, Tim, you might look back and go, oh, state and church, not so keen. I get that. I understand that. But the simple reality is, because of when the Reformation took place, the method that God chose was to help unite it to the state. Because if the Reformation had took place against the wealth and the power of the Vatican, it would have been wiped out in seconds. And I'm not necessarily talking about wiped out as in unalived, although that certainly would have been part of it. But it would have had no force or gravitas behind it at all. Uniting it to the state in certain areas, especially like in Germany, things like that, it gave it power, it gave it authority.
And it was just the way things were already structured. In other words, it was a given that the state and the church went together. It was just a matter of who was going to control the church.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, just to kind of throw this into this particular topic, this is so interesting as I'm going through Uncle Tom's Cabin, and I don't know what today's, like patriarchal CN kind of guy would even think about Uncle Tom's Cabin. I'm guessing they'd have a lot of disagreement with the author in terms of her past or whatever, like her own. But she actually, it's so funny. She actually says at one point in the story that we're a Christian nation, which I thought was really interesting because that is very much a debated tenet today, whether we're a Christian nation. And I would say if you look at our founding fathers, it's a little complicated, not because they were disavowing Christianity, but because their idea of Christianity was so...
well, a lot of them were just deists.
You see what I mean? It was just so watered down, if you will, that idea of what even Christianity is.
It is. But what I would say there, though, is because we've even had this going further back in church history too, because a lot of people look at Constantine as a deist. A lot of people think, oh, he believed in a god or gods, but he didn't actually believe in Jesus. Now, I take the opinion that Constantine had a genuine conversion, but more importantly, Christianity went from being persecuted to being united to the state, to meaning that it flourished. Because that is the method in God's providence that he chose. You see that later again in the Reformation. Now, again, I know people from the Roman Catholic and Orthodox side would disagree. They would see the Reformation as a terribly bad thing. Jimmy Aiken, Roman Catholic apologist, he says that the Reformation went way too far, but he recognizes that the church itself after the split of the Reformation, recognized that yes, accretions did creep in and things did need reforming, but not as far as the Reformation. We can debate those points at a different point, because ultimately, the way you look at that is, it's often posited that Martin Luther just wanted to become his own pope and become, the leader of his own church. Martin Luther stayed within the Roman Catholic Church until he was put out. He didn't want to be put out. He thought that the church that he was part of was the church, but that she had gone astray in so many areas. So you can recognize in Luther's paradigm, you can recognize that he looked at the Roman Catholic Church and went, this is the Church of Christ. But she has gotten very dirty, very stained. Very famous phrase out there. Doug Wilson even used it recently too in a debate, and regardless of who it comes from, because I know there's a lot of people that don't like Doug. It's not Doug's quote. It belongs to someone else. I'm just referencing it because Doug said it recently. But the question is, where was your face before you washed it this morning?
Same place.
Yeah. Just because you've got dirt in your face doesn't mean your face is still not behind there. It's just got dirt on it. Clean it off. So whenever people say to Protestants, well, where was your church before the Reformation? Same place it always was. It needed cleaned though. Because the idea is that the Reformation was not us seeking to go and start a brand new church. We're not restorationists. We're not people that look at it and go, all of church history got it wrong. Now, are there things in church history that became accretions? Absolutely. But you can look at those things and point them out. You don't have to abandon everything else in church history just because there's accretions. So there's different spectrums on that. I understand that. But what I'm saying ultimately overall is, if someone wanted to say, hey, look, I believe Christianity was good up until the first, maybe, let me just be really extreme, was good up until the first century. Then it went wrong, and then the Reformation fixed it.
Usually
Guess what?
Baptists will at least give you to the or the
Well, I know
fourth
that's
century,
why
beginning of the fourth century.
exactly. That's why I'm saying I'm going real extreme. But just say, for example, you got someone said, no, Christianity was good. Everything was right up until the end of the first century. And then it got fixed in the Reformation. Guess what? You would be called a restorationist, and you would be called a restorationist rightfully so. Because what you're teaching is that genuine Christianity was lost for so long that it needed Martin Luther to restore it.
Yeah.
Martin Luther didn't see himself as a restorer.
I would say this is a great topic, and when Orthodox Philip comes back on, we'll get into this, because we've actually alluded to this conversation before about how we weight church history into our
As long as he doesn't
days.
sing anathemas at us.
I don't think he will. Yeah, most likely.
For people that don't get that, don't worry about it. It's just a joke.
Yeah. Well, he's Orthodox. I mean, maybe if we threw a Catholic in the mix, we could really, cover our bases.
Yeah.
Because you're a full-fledged Protestant. You got Orthodox Philip. If you had a Catholic, and then I guess I'd represent the.
I was going to say I've got quite a few Catholic friends that would be up for that conversation if you want.
The low church, I guess I would represent. I don't know what you would call it, but the independent, like out there stuff. But anyway, to me it's yeah, watch out for those anathemas, he said. To me it's it is one of those things where it's I can see why people have different strong opinions about these things, because it depends a little bit on your own experience, and some of it has to do with your educate, like what you've studied and what you've learned. That being said, just kind of as one assessment of
Nice.
what has happened in history, that I think is a kind of, this is more just an observation of, I think, why things, they've continually changed throughout church history. If you study church history, it's not like all of church history, everything was always the same.
No.
There actually were changes that took place because of circumstances. But one of the huge circumstances that took place was during the Reformation, which not so coincidentally happens to be at the time where everybody started to be able to read the Bible
Hmm.
in their own language very accessibly. They were being printed on a printing press.
Hmm.
I think that's not a mistake. It's just the world was changing
Yeah.
and people's access to information was changing. And I think, and so, I mean, don't get me wrong, I want to learn from church history. But one of the things that for me does weigh into the equation is that I'm going to consider people who had a lot of access to the Bible and could talk to other people who had a lot of access to the Bible. And I'm going to surmise they probably were more biblically informed than a lot of Christians in other times. Now, that's not to say there weren't any informed Christians. I'm not saying that.
Hmm.
But I am saying I think that there is a case to be made that one of the reasons we had such a strong Reformation is because we were like, hey, look at what the Bible says. And that really caused a lot of self-reflection for the church.
Yeah. Well, it's you can bring up Philip's comment there too from the Orthodox perspective. But what I would point out though too about Tim is you're not someone that throws. Now, me and you would have
This
varying
one?
degrees.
Am I right on this?
Yeah, and then there's one after it as well. Um, let me set the stage briefly. You and I give very different weight to church history. However, you don't throw church history out wholesale. However, there is, and that's a lot of howevers. There
However.
is, exactly. There is a lot of people though, but in the evangelical world that have been taught straw man about church history. They have been taught things that are false. They have been taught things that, even on the Roman Catholic side, that Roman Catholics don't actually believe. It gets misrepresented. Things about Orthodox that they get told, and that's not what they believe either. Now, don't get me wrong. Philip and I talk about this all the time. He's been on my channel now at least 3 times, I think. Hopefully I can go on with him one day too, and he'll be back on here. We talk about this all the time. We don't downplay our differences, but one thing we do know is we share a lot in common at the same time. And what is often so strange to me is whenever you get, and again, I don't lay it at their feet. I lay it at the feet of the people that have taught them, because unfortunately, you've got a lot of people out there that have taught your everyday person in the pew that Rome believes this, the East believes that, and then when you look into it, it turns out it's not what they believe at all. Now, on the flip side, you've got people in Rome and the East that are told Protestants believe this, they believe the other, and it turns out we don't. We all, as people, and I'm not trying to be ecumenical and say we're all Christians. At the end of the day, the Lord will judge who is truly His and who is truly not. But what I'm saying is, while the three big names of us, and I'm including Baptist and everything in this now when I say Protestant, but when you take Rome, the East, and Protestants, we all claim the name of Christ. So it is our duty to accurately represent other people, not to run around going, they
Right.
believe that, they believe the other, and it
Yeah.
turns out you've done no research into it, and
And
you
it
don't know
takes
what
a
you're
lot of
talking about.
it takes a lot of patience and self-control, because one thing I will say to the point you made, you're right that take Catholicism, if you actually study it, you'll see like, oh, it doesn't teach what some people say it teaches. However, what you also have to add into the mix is you sometimes run into Catholics who do believe things
Yeah.
that technically Catholicism doesn't teach, or teaches in a more nuanced way.
Mhm.
And so, that's where it gets complicated. Just like when they charge us with believing certain things, well, it depends on which Protestant you talk to, because some of them don't actually know their stuff, or they've heard it a certain way and they have a very simplistic
Yeah.
understanding of it or whatever, or they just don't, they're just misrepresenting it, just like if we were, let's just take the Trinity. Like, there's what we should believe and there's what would come out of their mouth, and sometimes the first thing out of their mouth would be like, oh, that's actually not correct.
That's what I mean by, like, I don't leave the charge at people's feet and be like, what you're doing is wrong.
Yeah.
I think just sadly a lot of people have been poorly taught. Like, for example, I shared this not so long ago, but back in, oh goodness, maybe 2019, 2020, somewhere around there, I had a real bad case of ecclesial anxiety, where I was looking into Rome's claims and the East claims and this
Yeah.
idea of a one true church, and there was nights I couldn't sleep under the sheer fear of if I'm in the wrong church, like if I don't have the fullness of the truth, I am going to be lost for eternity. Now,
How
the
long ago was that?
about 2019,
Oh,
2020
okay.
or so,
Okay.
yeah.
Yep.
So that bothered me for the longest period of time, and it bothers a lot of people out there. And it's only whenever I started studying Rome's claims and the East claims. Don't get me wrong, there's still a lot I disagree with them on, and I think they fundamentally have wrong. They would also think what I have is fundamentally wrong. But whenever I looked into a lot of their claims, a lot of things that I was taught that they believed, they don't believe. So there was a
They
lot of
they
lies.
don't
There,
like you're saying that it's not part of their official
not
teaching.
part of their official
Right.
teaching. Now,
Right.
don't get me wrong. Yeah, there may be some Roman Catholics or Eastern
Right.
Orthodox running around saying it, but it's not what they actually believed. But what I'm saying to you is, and I'm not going to bring up examples right now because it'll take us way down other rabbit holes. But there was a lot of things that well-meaning men in my life taught me that I took as just gospel. Turns out
Mm,
wasn't true. And when I say lies, I don't mean those men lied to me. I think
yeah.
they got told those things themselves, thought it was true,
Yeah.
fed it on. That's something I don't want to do, not just to the east or the west. I don't
Yep.
even want to do that to Muslims. I want to steelman your position. Because if I strawman your position and I tear it down, I've done nothing. And I haven't helped
Yep.
anybody come to a knowledge of the truth. Now, back to that ecclesial anxiety thing, I just want to say very briefly. It caused me to look into a lot of their claims. And there's a lot of things that I looked at and I was like, what I have been told about you is not accurate. So I started looking more into church history, all this sort of stuff, and this is where I want to debunk this thing that is often said, and it's attributed to Fulton Sheen. To be deep in church history is to cease to be Protestant. No, there's many Protestants that are deep in church history, myself included, and others, who come away still convinced that Protestantism is true. Now, again, I know people in the East and the West, they'll disagree with that, they'll have their reasons for doing it, but these slogan things that we like attaching to each other, like, oh, Roman Catholics believe that they're saved by works. No, that's not accurate.
Yep.
They do believe that they're saved by the grace of the Lord. Now, they understand how that works out very differently from how we do, but they don't believe that they're saved by their works, that they attain their salvation by being good enough. So that baffles a lot of people because a lot of Protestants get told, "Oh yeah, they believe in works-based righteousness."
Yeah, and here's the thing about those kinds of discussions that are, really important to have. You always have to talk to people individually and openly. Like you need to really take the time to actually know what it is that they personally think and what their journey has been like spiritually. Because what I've noticed is sometimes the people that are most against Catholicism were Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. It's so. I hear what you're saying, and there's merit in that, because there is official teaching.
And it goes
But
both directions too, by the
right,
way. Well, three
right, oh,
directions technically.
yeah. But I know like people who would say they were in a Catholic setting and they never understood the gospel.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is it's again we shouldn't say therefore no Catholic ever hears the gospel, but we
Yep.
should say okay, that's something to consider when
Yeah.
we're having conversations with people. That's why I'm always going to emphasize let's be really clear about the gospel.
Mm-hmm.
And while I agree, I think sometimes they have a more nuanced view. I think sometimes all of their equivocations and complicated things, sometimes it's like, okay, then what's the gospel? Like, tell me, can I know I'm saved?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Those are areas where I still have disagreements with them. So
Yeah.
while I'm saying that, that's not me saying, oh, we have no differences with Roman Catholics or Eastern Orthodox.
Yeah.
Of course we do. We have huge differences. But one of the things that I have,
Sometimes, I guess, let me try to put it this way.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, even if your position technically is more careful
Mm-hmm.
and more thought out, if what you're producing is people who don't understand the gospel, time to take a look at what you're teaching.
sure. Yeah. But I would say that goes across the board to us too. Because
Of course
I
it does.
know,
That being
'cause-
said, I've known a lot more people in very biblically saturated churches.
Mhm.
That's how I'll put it. I'm not talking about a label, whether you want to call it evangelical or Protestant or Catholic or whatever. Just a biblically saturated environment are usually going to have a better understanding of the gospel.
Sure. But that's where. Sorry, there's a question there from Philip too. Could you bring that up?
Yeah, we can bring that up. Yeah. This one here.
Yeah. Do you know off the top of your head if any pre-Reformational pre-Reformation lectionaries were typically in Latin or vernacular languages? I don't know off the top of my head, Philip. No.
And by the way, what I was just talking about, I mean, we are talking essentially about the Reformation. Like Luther was really obviously worked up about that, like because of his own experience. And I think that the Catholic Church has kind of had to grapple with that a lot. They've been forced to grapple with that. But I know, like, when that happened, it's not like they were like, yeah, we really should consider, like, and I get it. Luther was very abrasive and he had his faults for sure. But still, like, they were very entrenched in what they were teaching. I gotta be honest. I mean, I think there are saved Catholics. I'll put that as a preference. I do. But I think Catholicism, I'm just saying, like, what it has led people historically to think, and historically to regardless of what their official teaching is, it's like it's I don't know how to say it other than, like, there's a lot to be criticized there. And
Well, 100%. That's why I think it'd be good if we get Philip on. And I've also a Roman Catholic friend who is also very much like Philip. He is very strong in his convictions, but he's respectful in how he speaks. I think it'd be a good conversation. But here's what I would say overall to this is, if you look at, like, this is where even Philip would agree with us here, because the Orthodox agree with us on this. When you look at Rome, and this is not me just trying to pick on Rome, but when you look at Rome and you look at pre-Vatican I, and then you look at Vatican II, very different. Very, very different. And it causes a lot of problems for their apologists, because they have to try and make it continuous.
yeah.
To their critics, you're never going to satisfy us because we're not seeing what you're trying to stitch together. To them, they think, yeah, no, look, there is continuity. This is what we're putting together. But outside of every group, because every group has their polemics, like, let's call a spade a spade. My confession calls the Pope an Antichrist. So that's not even an Antichrist, the Antichrist, that man of sin. So I'm not downplaying the differences. We have very strong differences.
Yeah.
But I think what has been laid upon my heart a lot recently is just much like you said. And by the way, I've always held this, but I'm holding it more strongly now. Are there Roman Catholics that will be saved? Yes.
Yeah.
Are there Eastern Orthodox that will be saved? Yes.
Yeah.
Are there Protestants that will be saved? Yes. Now, someone out of those three groups has the truth, or more truth than the others, right? But what I am at the stage at is I hate the polemics that I see online where it's really bad straw man, like, oh, Roman Catholics and Orthodox get accused of this as well. They believe that they have to attain their salvation by works. No. They say that they are initially saved and justified by God, by Christ. They believe that their works play a part in what the outplay of that is. So for the Orthodox, theosis. For the Roman Catholics, they use similar language to us in sanctification. Now, We disagree with that because we understand justification and sanctification in a different manner. However, what it's not a good idea to do though, but is to run around and say that Roman Catholics believe that they earn their salvation. You will not meet a Roman Catholic that will ever say to you, "I believe I earn my salvation."
I think what, kind of led into this whole conversation, and obviously we're not going to finish it today, but we're talking about church history, and we will talk more about this with some others from
And
different
eschatology.
traditions. It'll be great. Yeah, that's true. But to me, and this is obviously I'm voicing my theology here, but it's my experience too. Like, there is a simplicity to being able to open up the Bible and being able to say, here is what the scripture says. Here's how you can know about your salvation. And while I'm okay with saying, hey, let's learn from church history, let's be edified by church history, let's be humbled by church history, I'm all for that. But I don't think you need to say, here, open up the Bible, but I also need to include all these other things from church history in order for you to really understand what God is saying here. I just don't think, I think that overcomplicates it. And I think it's actually led for some misunderstandings, in my opinion, about what it means to have a relationship with God
Sure,
and
sure, and I would agree
yeah,
with a lot of that,
yeah.
but I think the thing that I'm more focused on is this is what I'm saying. Despite the fact that you and I personally, like us two personally, we would on a spectrum like giving weight to church history, I would be a lot further along here than you. And I know it's not really seen because we're split in the middle, but I am trying to draw a line here, so I'll do that. I'm I'm maybe over here and Tim's over here somewhere, right? Is what I'm trying to do. But you are not someone though, but that just completely throws church history out. Church history's bad. It just has nothing but errors in it. Because unfortunately,
I guess
that
I
is
guess this is a tough question. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it is a tough
yeah,
question because you've mentioned that a couple times.
yeah.
I don't know what would be worse because both could be bad. Like, let's say there's a person who disregards church history, but they open the Bible, they believe everything it says, they understand what it's saying, and they believe. Or a person who puts a ton of weight on church history and doesn't really understand what the Bible's saying. I would say I'd rather have the one who does understand the Bible. And that's why I said I think post-printing press, we're more in that situation where people can read the Bible for themselves. But that being said, I think all that being said, we can become very hubristic, especially as modern thinkers. And I think that's the pushback you often give, and I think it's merited. Because look at the cults that have arisen by people who say, I know how to read the Bible, and then they lead a bunch of people after them. And that's where church history is a teacher for us to say, no, wait a second, you don't have the right to take that prerogative on yourself.
100%.
You're part of something big. However, all they have to do is actually read the Bible consistently to see that they don't have a right to do that. But
No, I agree with that. And again, let's not drag this out too much longer. I'm happy to have this conversation. I just don't want our audience getting feeling like it's going on for. I don't think they're getting bored, but I don't want them to think we're going on for 5 hours or something.
we are
Yeah,
wrapping it up.
Kobe says, yeah, there has to be a balance. Tony also says scripture, tradition, reason, experience. All of that I agree with, like 100%, because similar to what you said, Tim, like here's the idea. Let's just say you have the Bible, just the manuscripts. We receive it down through the years via some mechanism, because we're not going to say church history right now for this example. We somehow
Obviously,
now.
that plays into it. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. But just for the sake of this argument right now, we're saying church history is not involved.
Right.
So somehow we now get the Bible in our hands in English in 2026. How do I look at this and read it and go, did Christians throughout history always believe the way I believe on these matters? Right? So whenever you look at church history and you can read books by like this is my second time going through this. I've been on a real church fathers kick at the moment, but St. Gregory of Nyssa on the Soul and the Resurrection, great book. I'd recommend you to check it out. But whenever you read this and you read works from the fathers and long after the fathers, like, because then you start to go into the medieval period, you can look at some of the Eastern fathers, all those things, you can look back and go, wow, what we believe today is what Christians have always believed in. Now, if you look at that just purely from the Bible's perspective, you would have to take on just bare faith that what I believe from this book is what Christians have always believed. However, if you've got church history and church tradition, you can look at that and go, there's a witness to what I believe.
Yeah.
Now, that does lead then into the question of how much of a witness, what
Exactly.
weight you give to.
Yeah.
Well,
Because there's
well,
this skittish side of me to that. Yeah.
I'm aware, but just before you go on, that's what I'm saying. That's not the conversation for now. But
Right.
what I'm saying to you is, for someone like yourself who doesn't throw church history and stuff out completely, I'm saying that's a good thing, because
Yes.
unfortunately, what I'm used to seeing, and this may be anecdotal, but what I'm used to seeing, especially on X, is you have a group of people that church history just bad. It's filled with man-made errors. You can't develop any truth from it at all. That to me is dangerous, because if you say that, you're essentially saying we have no ties to our Christian past. How do I know that what I believe when I read the Bible is the right interpretation? Now, again, the interpretation question becomes very different from Roman Catholics, Eastern Orthodox, and us. But if I can look back in church history and go, yeah, Jesus is very clearly divine, and I read that the fathers are saying that Jesus is of the same nature as the Father, that's a witness. Does that mean that, I needed the church history to give me that? No, I got that from Scripture, because guess what? I held these beliefs long before I read the fathers or anyone else. But the reason why you do get so many cults coming along is because what they do say from the very beginning is the church went astray. I don't believe the church went fully astray. I think accretions crept in 100%, but we can identify those accretions.
Yeah. And that's where church history can be very helpful, for sure, and help us not to repeat. I mean, when people come up with some, guess what? They came up with that false idea in the past, and it's already been taken care of. Right.
There's nothing new under the sun.
Yeah. But that being said, what we're always going to have to sort out is, even if you use tradition, I mean, take the Orthodox and the Catholics, like, they're very different actually in some ways, not in every way, but in some ways.
Very, very.
Even though they're both like trying to use tradition to help them interpret Scripture.
Very, but that's where I look at that and go, that's an in-house debate. We as Christians can debate that.
That's where I look at that and say, that's why having the Bible in our hands helps simplify things and helps us to adjudicate these things that were harder to adjudicate back 1,000 years ago, when not everybody had the Bible.
100%.
That's my opinion.
Well, yeah, 100%. But that's why I point out those are an in-house debate for me, because when it comes to the cults, like people like Jehovah's Witnesses and stuff, who genuinely believe that after Christ, they've got wacky views about Christ anyway, but this just say, for argument's sake, they believe that when Christ ascended back to the Father, poof, that's it. Church history fell apart. The church didn't hold. No beliefs are standard, therefore the watchtower is needed. The Mormons believe the very same thing. They said that all their creeds...
Usually these groups believe that the church, not just that the church history doesn't matter, and this is a key point. There's actually some people who would say, I just kind of don't emphasize church history, but these groups a lot of times are like, church history was evil. Like this was all apostate, and we are now the ones who are restoring it. Right.
Exactly, and that's my point. That's why I say, regardless of what weight you, and I mean you personally, Tim, and maybe someone in your audience that holds the same opinion, regardless of what weight you give church history, at least you look at church history and say, no, it is important. Just it's a question of how important.
Right.
But the extreme of that is, unfortunately, the Christians that I see online. I'm saying genuine Christians, but because of what they've been taught. They've been taught a lot of this rhetoric that, exactly as you said, church history just went from Christ ascending to all of a sudden, pew, every error known to man crept in.
Yeah.
But that's not true.
Yeah, we have a lot of and I appreciate that when we're trying to deal with certain heretical views, both Catholics and Orthodox and us can really draw from each other on issues like the Trinity, because it's
Yep.
like we're looking at the scripture, we're seeing the same thing, and there's tradition to help us to articulate what we're seeing in scripture. So that's all really good. That being said, another thing I would personally add in here would be that, and again, we're going to discuss this stuff more, but
Yeah.
we could talk about it, that part of church history is the recent past. It's not to say that early church history isn't important, but sometimes people who are rooted in these older traditions, they put so much weight on certain centuries. And it's like, well, what about the 1700s? What about the 1800s? What about the 1900s? That's still part of church history. And I still think we need to include those data points when we're giving weight to church history.
Well, for as long as the church is around, this is my opinion, but for as long as the church is around until the Lord tarries, exactly what you said. Now, let me clarify. That's not for me to say that the church is going to change and morph and evolve. Not on teaching and things like that, but how it reacts to things. Of course, the church is a living organism in that sense. Like it's a
Right.
body.
Right.
The body has to react. And as I say, we, for well over 1600 plus years now, we're not really dealing with new heresies or anything like that. They have all, the heresies we mainly deal with were found in the very first centuries. And if people were more educated on church history, because this is what I'm saying, and again, I know this goes back to how much weight you give it, but your Bible will not spell out to you what is heretical and what is not. Those were things that the church talked about over time and was like, look, this is heretical because why? And they point back to scripture. But you're not going to find like a glossary in your Bible that says, Arianism, teaches Jesus as a lesser divine being than the Father. You can derive that is false by
But
studying
again,
the statements.
my only like thing about that is and that's why I say recent church history. I think we can have some people who are like, all I read are present day books, and I think, yeah, that's a problem. Then you have people, I only read the ancient stuff, and it's like, okay, that I get that, but why can't you read all of it? Because it's all
I think
part
we
of
should.
church history, and the Holy Spirit is still working throughout all these centuries. It's not like he stopped working, or he worked better in the Middle Ages or the early centuries. He's still working today. That being said, yeah, I think everything that helps us to understand scripture and helps us piece it together, we need that as humans. We're not isolated in the way that we understand the world. Everything we've learned, even language, we're going to read the Bible, you need to understand language. You learn language by being in a family and being in a country where you learned language, you in an environment. So yeah, all of our knowledge on some level is communal.
Absolutely, because again, I'll make this my final point so we don't go on forever. But look, we talked about straw men that gets built against people. One of the most common straw men that is built against Protestants is people will attribute to sola scriptura what they really should be attributing to solo scriptura. As Protestants, we don't believe in the Bible alone, no other authority. Unfortunately, there are some people out there that do that, but the reason why that falls apart is if I don't take into account how I got this into my hands from the manuscript tradition, which by the way is a tradition, it's came down through the church, it's been protected by God's people throughout the centuries. Now, the Orthodox, the Catholics, they would look at my understanding of this and say that's weak. It's actually the church that give you that. I agree. I do say it is the church that give it to us, but my understanding of the church is the universal body of Christ. It's not a localized institution that has a head. I believe the head is Christ. But anyway, let me not go off on a tangent. But what I'm saying to you is, if you are so low scriptura, you are really someone that just holds your Bible and go, yeah, I have this Bible and I don't really know how I got it. And if it's not written there verbatim, then I don't believe it. That to me is foolish and that is dangerous, because the thing is, I want to be tied to my faith. I want to know what my Christian
Yeah.
ancestors
And I think
taught and believed.
in practice, whether they're conscious of it or not, everybody is associating what they read with other authoritative aspects, right? It's not like you can just read everything. Again, how would you even know what you're reading if you didn't have people who taught you what words mean? Like that is part of how you even know. So you can't just take a book by itself and say, that's the only way I have knowledge. There's no such thing as just having knowledge based on one level of authority. That being said, obviously, you know, what we both agree on is you can have levels of authority. You can say, yes, that is an authority, but something can be higher than that and be a corrective on it, or help make sure that I'm, you know, keeping it within bounds when I listen to that
100%.
authority.
And that's what the Protestant position is. We teach that the Bible is the sole infallible authority.
Right.
Meaning there's no authority greater. It corrects our traditions, everything else. But whenever you've got people that, and again, I don't want this to go on any further, but whenever you've got people, and I'm speaking purely about the Protestants, because I'm saying that large scale camp. So if you're not Orthodox or you're not Roman Catholic, I'm adding you into the Protestant sphere here. If you just take the position that it's just you and your Bible, there's no other authority, unfortunately you become your own authority, because it's your interpretation that matters. Now, that's a critique that I always get as a Protestant, but again, it's a straw man, because my interpretation doesn't come from me alone. I have a church that authoritatively teaches me what the scripture is. Now again, not to go into the ins and outs, I know Roman Catholics and Eastern Orthodox would disagree. How do you know they're an authority? All that sort of stuff. All I'm saying is, while you might not agree with that position, don't strawman me though by saying Protestants believe that they are their own pope, that they have their own interpretation, because that's not accurate either.
Yeah. Although again, there probably are some who do kind of
there is, unfortunately, but that's what I'm saying. Label those people that. Don't label people that believe something different. That's what I mean by, like, if anybody doesn't know what a straw man is, it's just essentially you're constructing quite literally a man made of straw so you can set it ablaze and basically proclaim victory over it as if you've defeated the person, the argument. So look, all I would say is, across the board, whether you're Protestant, you're Roman Catholic, you're Orthodox, whatever, you can disagree with any other stream of Christianity. I have no issue with that. Just try not to strawman one another. Try your best to stillman their position, because if you do end up convincing them or whatever, you've convinced someone based on what should be true, versus just, look, I destroyed a fake opinion you had.
Yeah, it's hard. You know, I think all of us have had times where we've strawmanned other
100%.
Positions because
100%.
we think we understand the argument, but we don't really. Yeah. So that's good reason to have people on our channel that can give us what they actually believe about those things.
Which is why I open my channel up a lot. I get a lot of flack at times from people saying, why are you giving Orthodox people a platform? Why are you giving... I ain't giving anybody a platform. This would be no different than if I sat down with someone and had a cup of coffee and we talked through your feelings. All it is, it's being recorded for your edification and for mine. I say every time on my videos, I am not your teaching authority. Don't treat me as your teaching authority. Go to your church. Anything if you learn anything from my channel and it blesses you, or Tim's channel and it blesses you, great. But go and run it through your pastor, your priest, your whoever, your spiritual authority. But this idea that you can't talk to people because they're from a different stream of Christianity, or even remove it different. Let's say I have a Mormon on the channel, which is happening in the future, by the way. That does not mean that I agree with that Mormon. I'm going to give pushback. But to say that you can't have a conversation with them, it's very silly in my mind.
Yeah. Well, and I will say, we are going to have conversations with different people. We have already. But one of the things that I think is important is finding the people that are the best for you to talk to. In other words, it's not like just bringing anybody from any background is always going to be fruitful. because there are people. I mean, I'll be honest. Like we've had these discussions. There are people in the Protestant world that I just have a hard time talking with
Amen.
because it's not you, fortunately. Because you're able to be honest, but also to be able to have respectful dialogue and discussion about things. Whereas some people, their positions it's just not something I personally would care to interact with. And that's okay. Like, I mean, you don't have to act with every single person out there, but find the people that are edifying to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be helpful. So that's what we're trying to do. We had a Pentecostal pastor on last week. Although
true.
he wasn't really talking about that particular subject, but
He wasn't.
yeah. Like, share, and subscribe.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And we should put your channel up one more time.
Well, I meant yours.
I appreciate that, and I want everybody also to remember that Layman is very close to 1,000. I haven't refreshed this page. You might have gone up over 1,000
I doubt we're over
while we were
1,000
talking.
tonight, but we are close.
Should I refresh it?
Yeah, go for it. It won't be at 1,000 yet, but
All right, let's see if we got anybody else here. Oh yeah, 972. Look at that.
oof, we're very close. We're
You're
very
getting
close.
28 away. All
28
right.
away, and then we'll be doing well, I'll have to actually do a competition for it first, but ultimately at 1,000 we are doing a premium Bible giveaway.
Yeah, that's great. And kind of wrap up here, Tony said, none of us have everything right. We can all learn from one another.
Yep.
I've learned and grown through interacting with my Catholic, Orthodox, Reformed brothers and sister. Even that's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
And that's Philip and I talk about this a lot. That's the type of ecumenicism you want. It's not this just we're all Christian. We
No.
don't worry about our differences. No,
No,
the difference.
you've heard. Everybody's heard me today. I
Yeah.
definitely have some strong opinions.
Exactly, but that's the point. Let's not pretend any of us don't have strong opinions.
Right.
Philip has strong opinions about the Orthodox faith, but what he's not going to do is he's not going to be a jerk and berate you and say you're a dumb Protestant, you don't know this, that, and the other. That's not Philip's nature. Philip's someone you can have a productive conversation with without, feeling like you're just being attacked personally. The other guy who's Roman Catholic, who I would like to bring on, is, I'll not give his personal name, but his channel, if anybody wants to check him out, is Blue Collar Bible Scholar.
He's going to be on your debate, right?
He is, yes, he's going to
Yeah.
be debating Bob. He is someone who has very strong opinions on Roman Catholicism. Me and him have back and forth all the time on our disagreements, but they never devolve to the level of you're unsaved, you're in a cult, you're a heretic, doesn't happen because you are not going to win anyone to Christ or your point of view by acting like that.
And you've already had him on your channel.
No, he hasn't been on my channel yet.
Okay.
He's going to do the debate first.
Okay.
Me and him, when I say debate, we and him debate back and forth on X. But once he's had his debate with Bob, he will be on my channel for just a casual conversation with
Yep.
me.
Yep.
And then, as I say, Lord willing, we can get him and Philip on with us, and that way it'll
We'll
be
just let them go at it. You got to let the East and West have their.
Well, it'll be very evenly split because obviously they will have disagreements with each other, but they will have a lot of points where they look at you and I and they're like, here's where you have it massively wrong. So,
And
it
all three of
promises
you will
to be
look at me as really crazy.
no, not in that situation because I'm gonna need a tag team partner. So
Okay. You'll make sure to stay off eschatology while we're talking with them.
yeah. Unless one of them brings it up, then I'm throwing you under the bus.
All right. Cool. Thank you, Philip.
Yep.
We love it too. And Philip's also going to come on and talk about that new Orthodox Bible
Yeah.
once it comes out.
hmm
That's going to be really interesting.
Which, before we go, because I know we're going well over 2.5 hours here, Philip, if you could type very quickly, when is it due out? I don't know when it's due out.
He just had and I need to watch that because he talked
Well,
about.
that's what I'm saying. I would like to know if he has a rough time frame, because then we'd know when he's next due on. I mean, we can organise that privately too, but just if he knows roughly.
If he happens to know. It may not be set in stone yet, but he may have a ballpark as to when it's going to be out.
Yeah.
By
'cause
the
in
way,
my-
just thank you again, Tony, for sending me all of this stuff. I can't wait to try more of it. And it's been really good. I've been sipping away on this drink today. It's been awesome.
I guarantee you're
Lovely.
not even a quarter of the way through that can, are you?
I am, about halfway. Believe it
Okay,
or not.
that's
Yeah.
not that bad. 'Cause I was going to say, like,
And I drink coffee. So
I've been through nearly 3 cans already. He
so
says,
he says anytime from now to this fall, it's wide
Okay.
range, but that's what they gave me. Well, hopefully they'll give you like first printing. That would be cool if like one of the first copies goes to you since you have a channel and you're promoting it.
yeah.
So let's hope for that.
There we go. That's a good note to end it on there, we net did. As Christians, we can agree to disagree on things. Yeah.
Yeah.
And without that meaning the airy-fairy, we're all just Christian thing too, because obviously there's very big things we disagree on.
It's
but
what we agree on that is really integral, right? And we're trying actually, I think, sometimes to come to better agreement by having these discussions. Like, it doesn't mean you're going to totally change your position, but you might modify your position or at least take a step back and go, oh, okay, now I understand
I think
why people...
modify is a good way to put it, because here's the thing. I guarantee you there is and we'll end here. There are
Sure.
things exactly. There are things Roman Catholics believe about Protestants that are demonstrably untrue. Vice versa, flip that around, and the same with the Orthodox when you include them into that position. So we're not saying here that we're going to have these conversations and all of a sudden, Philip's going to become Protestant, blue collar Bible scholar is going to become Baptist, or I become Orthodox or whatever else. We're not saying that, but what we are saying is we might come to a position and go, hey, hang on a minute, I had this idea that you genuinely thought you attained your salvation by works. You might come away and go, I still don't agree with how you word that, but okay, I get it. You don't think you actually earn your salvation.
Right.
That would at least move conversation forward in a more fruitful paradigm.
Yeah. It'll be good. And I think we should be back next week, right? As far as I know, we should be here same time as normal. And I'll be eating more English snacks. And we'll be talking about more stuff like this.
We shall.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. And love the interactions today.
And thanks for sticking with us nearly 3 hours.
Yeah, I know. They're marathon listeners there.
Indeed.
All right. We'll see you next week.
God bless, folks.